Uh, okay, that was kind of awkward. But anyways, nothing is more awkward than the position I am in right now, which is laying down. Anyways, ignore this. Ignore this. Yeah, my pillow. Because my big fucking head is... Anyways, long story short, no edits, no cuts. Let's get into it. So, bored out of my mind yet again. So I go on my YouTube, see what can I watch. Dean. Who is Dean? Dean Whitaker, or Witters. He's a very educated person who's also a white boy, and usually educated and white boy in this day and age, in this generation, that doesn't correlate. But he is very educated. He's one of the only people who are boys that I'll give credit to on being how educated he is about things in this world. Okay, he's like 19, and he's like going on podcasts debating like 30-year-old men, and like, he's doing good things. And I remember when he was on I used to watch this one guy named Parker, and they were like their besties. And I remember he used to come on as a guest on his TikTok live, and now he has his own TikTok, millions of followers, just because of him being right and people agreeing with him. And I am one of those people. Now, today we're going to be watching a debate with Nick Funes. I do not know who that fucking guy is, but they're just debating about what the current state of America is and Donald Trump's presidency. Now, this was 3 months ago. So, Donald Trump wasn't elected to be the president like he is right now. So, they're going to be speaking. So, they don't know that he already won. But they're still going to, debate what's going on right now. So, and I just wanted to post this on my YouTube. Whether this might be an opposite. Like, it's really it's not that odd. It's just me laying down. Okay, so let's just get into the fucking video. It's 2 hours long. I won't be reacting to 2 hours because there's shit to do. Like, I don't know, 2 hours. But we're just gonna be reacting to it. Okay, while laying down. Interesting. But listen, I'm a human being. Keep that in mind. I already watched 11 minutes of it. And I was like, maybe I should record a YouTube video. So that's what I'm here. I'm not rewinding it back. Don't fucking bother me right
military is by far and away the biggest component of that, and Biden spends more, and he spends more on military appropriations because of all the foreign aid. We gave 175 billion to Ukraine, we gave 27 billion to Israel, another 8 billion to Israel last week, 7 billion to Taiwan, 1.3 billion to Egypt. That's in addition to the 850 billion per year, which that's like the highest ever under Biden. So, spending's not coming down under anybody.
Okay, well, that's just wrong. I'm sorry for interrupting you. You can reference the
you're
claim that spending didn't go down under Biden and Harris compared to Trump. You could reference a committee.
I didn't say that.
Budget. You said that spending wasn't going down under anyone, right? We can make a comparative analysis between the two last terms, and we could show how it's gone down. A committee for a responsible federal budget indicated that Donald Trump signed $8.7 trillion of debt into law. Meanwhile, Biden and Harris only signed in 4.6. We could break that down into COVID and non-COVID. Like, for instance, Trump signed $4.8 trillion of non-COVID related expenditures into law. Meanwhile, Biden only signed in $2.2 trillion. But the first point that you made, I wanted to touch on that. You were talking about the tariffs, right? You just kind of related it back to how the Kamala Harris campaign is calling it, like a sales tax. And then that's kind of all you said. Yeah, I don't really care what they're calling it. I agree. That's just a term that they use to convince the average American that doesn't know much about what a tariff is, that it's really bad. But at the end of the day, the impact of the tariff, right, still does serve as a detriment to the consumer. And you were very careful with your words here, because you told me that tax, right, that tariff isn't fully paid by the consumer, implicitly kind of conceding there that some of it is. Right. And that's what I'm talking about. That is a tax that in some sorts is passed off to the consumer. We could also consider other attributes, such as the idea when we reduce the overall supply of a good with a constant demand, the price will go up. That's basic macroeconomics. That's going to happen when we reduce the amount of imported goods without increasing the amount of supply manufactured here at home in the U.S. At the end of the day, tariffs are bad. This is a unilateral, agreed upon consensus. Republicans and Democrats alike. You go to any economist, they'll tell you this unless they don't have the necessary.
I would love to have this kind of debate with like the topics that I keep on saying every fucking time. I'm like, God, I'm like, I hate men. Here's why. Besides him. And, you know, religion. I would love to sit here, but that's besides the point. Now, I just want to address something. The reason why he's talking fast, I can speak on this, is because people don't listen to slow talkers. They listen to fast talkers. And him putting out the information, it doesn't come in like a sentence. It had to be like a paragraph. So that's why he's talking really fast, because then people are gonna drift away if he's talking slow, right? Also, he was talking for like straight up 2 minutes, talking about things, like going into many topics. And usually, when people do this, they are not steady on what they say, so they just burst everything out at once instead of giving the opponent to respond. Sometimes I do this, but like not like that. Like I just give because I have a lot to say. There's a difference. Like I can see in this guy's demeanor that he was just like looking around, like not really confident in what he's saying. In other words, he's a little bitch.
Qualifications to be, and that's a fact. And then when we kind of consider these tariffs alongside his policy disproportionately benefiting the rich man and seemingly at the expense of the poor man with these tariffs, it becomes quite clear. If we want to serve to the average American in their best interests, we need to be voting for Kamala Harris because her policy does exactly that. I mean, 83% of the tax cuts in the TCJA. Not at all. 83% of the tax cuts in the TCJA for the last 7 years went to the top 1%. I mean, is that just rhetoric?
Okay, so my turn?
Go for it, sir.
Okay, so with regard to tariffs, yes,
See if you know, when I have a debate, I usually come off that kind of way because okay, let me explain. Because I'm not really caring what they have to say, so I come off disrespectful, right? But if I would have actually sat here in the debate that they're having, I wouldn't have done what he did, which is being straight up disrespectful. I would have been very not saying anything or like disrespectful, so you can get my point across. The reason why I do that is to keep them like attention to those kind of parts, and that's what he did, directing him away from the actual matter. Now he just immediately shut down when he said, "Can I go now?" He immediately looked down, which means he shut down, which is the point that he was trying to do. Now, if you come up very respectful in these debates, like he is, there's a reason why. Him being rude in his little business suit, clearly this suit and the like a nice setup, you're still going to be disrespectful because like this was like 11 minutes in, he was kind of being very disrespectful and to this dude. But anyways, so usually those cases, my case, where I have debates and I'm being disrespectful is to lure them in, right? But if I would actually sit there and had a debate, I wouldn't be acting like this. And if I was acting like this, it's because I'm not very confident. So I just blurt out insults because I'm not confident. So I just like, instead of just being respectful and knowing that what I say is already attacked without attacking you, like he just did. Period. So I'm basically saying that because he is not confident in what he's saying. I catched on to that immediately. Now let's begin. Now, if you're not confident in what you're saying, your point's never gonna come off confidently. It's gonna come that you're being a dick instead of a person who's coming off like respectfully, which he is. Period.
Some of the cost is passed down to the consumer, but it's marginal. And the point of tariffs is to reshore manufacturing. I'll give you a perfect example. China has now become the largest manufacturer of electric cars. Huge industry. You could buy an electric car in China for $10,000. Tesla does not cost $10,000. If we allow China to dump their electric cars in America, there goes Tesla. There goes our American electric car manufacturing. It's a national security problem. There's a lot of problems. You have to put tariffs on the cars. Probably China will send them here regardless because they're still so cheap. And yeah, they're not going to be $10,000, but there's a value in making cars in America. There's a value, and by the way, because then Americans get those jobs. So, you could say that free trade creates the lowest costs, but the only reason it creates the lowest costs is because they can undercut us with wages and with their lower standard of living and monetary policy that they have in their own country. So tariffs are essential for a holistic understanding of the economy. The increase in prices is marginal. It's not significant. And when you call it a consumer tax or a sales tax, that does matter because they're conflating that with a VAT tax. That's very different. The 15, 20% and I don't know that they're doing it on every country, so I'll take your word for it. It's not going to be passed down to consumers beyond a marginal amount. That's one. In terms of, you said, Trump had more deficit spending. Almost all of that is accounted for by the pandemic. Almost all of it. We say, the Trump had a $8 trillion deficit. That was because of the COVID stimulus, the PPP, the cash payments.
Half of it.
Almost all of it.
And before, because they're debating about the policies that each president has. This guy's obviously Donald Trump, and he's obviously Kamala Harris. Now, he said, which is kind of weird if you're invoking this policy, he said he's not going to be voting for Donald Trump nor Kamala Harris, even though he likes the policies that Donald Trump has, and he thinks Donald Trump will be a better candidate, but he's not voting. That's odd. That's an odd thing to say. Again, he's not confident. How are you going to like someone and like what they say, but you're not following them and you're not voting for them? That makes absolutely no sense. So, he's a weirdo. I don't know who is this guy. Never seen him before. A little bit.
And here's the point.
Go to CRBF.
Hang on. I'll let you finish.
Yes, sir.
You said, so the structural problems with deficit spending, they're there under Trump. They're there under Harris. And by the way, Republicans tried to get limitations on the deficit. That's what they got elected on. Republicans regained control of Congress in 22, saying they'd limit the deficit. They negotiated it over the debt ceiling negotiations last year. They negotiated it over military appropriations last year with the October 1st deadline. Tried to negotiate it this year. Democrats wouldn't come to the table on deficit reduction. Either way, the deficit is baked into the cake, okay? The debt is $30 trillion. Interest rates are high. Interest to service the debt is going up. Neither Harris or Trump is meaningfully going to reduce the debt or the deficit. So it's just moot. Without bringing down Social Security and Medicare, just forget about it. Without bringing down the military, it's not going to happen. And there are these extraordinary measures like COVID and Ukraine war. It's really neither here nor there. Also, I think deficit is really besides the point. If you want to get further into the deficit,
I've heard a Republican say that, by the way.
Yeah, well, I'm not a normal Republican. I'm not like a fiscal conservative, okay? Look,
do you mind if I respond to the points you've made so far?
What's that?
Do you mind if I respond to the points you've made so far?
Yeah, go ahead.
Check what you said.
Sure.
So, first of all,
real quick, Dean, I'm not cutting you off. Guys, we just have 10 minutes on this topic. Just 10 more minutes on this topic. Go ahead, Dean.
Okay,
right. So the first claim that you made, that tariff isn't passed off to the consumer, yeah, that's wrong, because what would the point of the tariff be then? Okay, we see an increase in domestic production given tariffs because that is passed off to the consumer. Would you agree there?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so then why do we see an increase in domestic production given tariffs?
Okay, so as someone who talks a lot and have conversations with a lot of people, I'm just doing the body language, okay? I don't really know too much about, what's actually policies, going to actually benefit the country. Don't know. But the body language says a lot, especially if someone's speaking on it, or, rebuking it, or have some type of judgment on it. You can't have a judgment on something that you agree with, and you're, very soft-spoken. You have, that it don't correspond, especially if it's, controversial. But anyways, so him, again, blurting out numerous of things that one needs to talk about, because you're not just talking, to yourself, you're debating with somebody. To have a debate, you need to say a topic and let the other one right or wrong. Now, I do this too when I'm debating people on Omegle. I rarely let them speak that bullshit because I know it's false, okay? But again, I do that because I'm trolling. 9 out of 10. If I was on an actual debate, I would say a topic and then let the one finish. Now, I don't know why he's doing the same things that I do when I'm trolling, which is, especially when I'm trying to debate somebody, I don't let them speak and I don't let them finish. Not because, I know if they say it, it's going to make me look dumb. It's just because I'm trolling and this, okay? Now, and again, is he's not confident in what he's saying, obviously. And that's kind of an issue if you're debating with the dean, out of all people, in a debate, period.
tariffs?
Because when you produce something in China, you can make it for cheaper, so your margin is bigger, so you can undercut prices.
You make it more expensive for the consumer at the grocery store by imposing those tariffs, right? And then secondly, I agree with you.
Again, because China will pay the tariff to get their goods to the market because they need access to the market.
But then why won't we buy it? Because it costs more money. Right. And that's my whole argument is that tariffs cause the end consumer to pay more at the grocery store, to pay more at Best Buy, to pay more at the car dealership.
Do you know what a tariff is?
There's another point that you brought up there. It's a tax on an import. And there's another point that you brought up there about how we want to like spur domestic production of goods. I don't disagree. I absolutely agree. We should have a more industrialized economy where we produce goods here at home in America. We just disagree on how we get there. Right. How do
we get there without tariffs?
Yeah, sure. Right. By driving further competition through the natural market. We do that via investment.
What's the natural market?
We do that by investing in money. Investing in money. That was crazy. Investing in the U.S. producers of goods, like the Chips and Science Act under Biden and Harris' administration, that invested billions of dollars into U.S. chip producers to further drive competition, right, with those imported goods, just via innovation in the product, right? And the fact that you, as a conservative, are sitting here telling me that we need a government to impose a regulation on the free market by tariffing those goods that are being imported to our country is just new. You know what I mean? Right?
Well, it may be new to you because like your only context of Republican is like Reagan. But if you go back to Henry Clay and Friedrich List and the American system, Alexander Hamilton, the country was basically funded by tariffs until we had an income tax.
Yeah, do you know why?
We only had an income tax 100 years ago. Before that, the federal government made its money from tariffs.
Yeah,
by the way,
you know why?
It's basic mercantilism because we want to make the stuff. And by the way, when you say, well, we're just going to invest, it doesn't work. China's dollar goes 3 times as far because the standard of living is lower. They're rich in raw materials. They have an endless supply of labor, cheap labor. The idea you're going to chips and sciences your way out of China having systemic advantages, economic factors of production like labor. They have 1.5 billion people. You're not going to pass a bill that's going to change those fundamental imbalances in the economy. We have capital, we have tech, we have entrepreneurship, they have labor. Okay, it's the same reason, hang on, and it's the same reason why we're even, when we try to, they call it friend shoring, we're going to take our factories from China and give them to our allies like Philippines, it's still going to China because they have all the cheap labor. You just can't compete with that. You can't compete with the fact that they make everything, they have all the people. So you agree that we should reindustrialize. You literally cannot do that unless you protect industry. And by the way, China has tariffs too. All countries have tariffs. We're the country that doesn't have tariffs. They're eating our lunch as a result. So, that's just not true. What you're saying isn't true.
No, Donald Trump's taken away the average American's lunch as a result. Like, once again, we've already went over how tariffs can cause prices at the grocery store to go higher. Every single time we've historically increased tariffs on China, what have we seen? A reduction in U.S. agricultural exports. What did Trump have to do when he imposed his tariffs on China? He had to bail out American farmers with $28 billion. You say you want American industrialization. You say you want more U.S. production of goods. But then you also say that you want these tariffs on China to absolutely destroy American farmers. And you want the average American to be worse off, meaning they have less economic mobility to go and start a business in the first place. This is why Kamala Harris's tax policy is better, right?
Because this is like Democrat talking points.
Okay, well, can you dispute them?
Yeah, like I said, taraffs, the other country will pay the cost of the tariff. Okay, you're saying consumers will pay it, and that's just wrong. Okay,
so you don't think
Trump administration, hang on. Trump administration, I'll give you a perfect example. Trump administration implemented tariffs against Canada, against Europe, against China. Inflation was like 1.3% under Trump. Okay, so if what you're saying is true, that the cost of the tariff would be passed down to the consumer 1-to-1 or even significantly, inflation would not remain at or around 1%. Why? If and by the way, Biden administration has tariffs too. Inflation is very high, but the cost of goods going up has everything to do with fuel prices going up.
Hey guys, we got 5
because
minutes.
of the war in Ukraine.
Hey, 5 more minutes.
Everything to do with
Nick.
A very crucial point.
With the quantitative easing.
If they don't cause inflation of the pricing of goods at the grocery store, then why would we see an increase in domestic production?
Because it will make it competitive for America to make the same things.
How?
If China, because it's basic math. If it costs, I'm going to, if you stop interrupting me. If it costs less to make something in China because they have abundant labor than it does in the United States, then China can sell it at a lower price because their cost is lower. But if we make them pay more.
When one is agitated, they act like this. Agitated can be many different things. Okay? His agitation is because he is losing. When you're calm and steady, that you're not agitated. And to be honest, Dean, I never seen him upset or angry before. So, he's very relaxed because his topics are the truth. When you speak the truth, you do not need to yell unless nobody's listening. That's exactly why he's on this debate right now, okay? He feels like nobody's being listening to him, so he keeps on ramming at the same thing over and over again, not letting nobody speak, and he's before he was calm, he has this suit on, he thinks he's cool. Now he's using a lot of hand movements, which means he's getting agitated, and Dean barely even spoke to him in that condescending manner that he spoke to him. So if that didn't happen, if Dean didn't speak to him that kind of way, why is he getting angry? Because he knows he's going to lose, because he's bringing up invalid points and not letting one speak, especially when he's on a time limit. I don't even think he knows, but, it will make people talk fast, right? Exactly. But also, talking fast in a condom manner is anyways, long story short, you see, I'm like very calm right now because I'm laying on my back. I can't like scream or say it's a fucking retard because I'm trying to be professional and I'm talking a lot. But you understand, like I'm reading this body language because again, I do not really have a lot in this topic. Okay, I know about some policies before when the election was still running. But other than that, I don't know.
Or to bring their goods to the market, then they have to sell it for more, or they have to pay the tariff and they make less profit. And that makes it profitable for American companies to make. Can you stop interrupting me? Can you?
Chinese products cost more.
Can you stop interrupting me, please?
Sure.
It adds, but who pays the cost? China pays the cost to bring it to the market, not the consumer.
And who pays the cost once it's in the market?
Well, the consumer does.
Thank you.
But they're buying what they're already buying. They're just buying it from an American producer.
Yeah, for a higher price, right?
Yeah, so for a slightly marginally higher price, so we can have American production.
Okay. Yes,
but there's also economies of scale.
Thank you.
It stimulates American industry, and then America's able to produce what China would ordinarily produce.
Okay, all right. And America will produce it for a more expensive price because we don't have as cheap of labor as
it protects the American industry, which
by
is
causing inflation, right? Can you agree with me there?
Marginal. It's marginal.
Marginal increases.
But either way,
we're getting somewhere.
But it's really neither here. Well, and I said that earlier, so it's the same thing. But either way, the Biden administration has tariffs too, so it's basically a moot point.
No, it's not a moot point because once again, he wants to impose tariffs on all.
But you disagree with the Biden administration's policy, right?
Absolutely, right.
Okay, I do disagree with tariffs. What do we even argue about? Trump had tariffs. Biden has tariffs. Tariffs protect industry in America. You support that.
No, so the reason the reason that this is a bad argument is because Trump wants more tariffs, right? I don't understand how this isn't evidently clear. I think what you're trying to do is kind of confuse people between me saying that tariffs that Biden and Harris imposed were bad, and me saying that when Donald Trump is elected, he wants to impose all tariffs on all imported goods. Right? One is worse than another. Okay, so
they're not putting tariffs on all imported goods.
Okay, does he just want to keep the ones on China?
It's going to be on. I don't know the Trump policy, but it's not on all imported goods. That's just
okay. So then, how is he going to pay for the $4.8 trillion associated?
You can
with
fact check that.
Then how's he going to pay for
borrowing? Like they pay for all, like how they pay for 175 billion to.
And what's the biggest expense of our government?
Liabilities.
Liabilities? No, it's interest.
Medicare, Social Security. That's totally wrong.
No, the biggest expense of our federal government is interest on debt.
Totally wrong.
Okay, I don't think that's wrong.
It's liabilities.
Totally correct.
Okay, we're wrapping up on time here. Let's we'll give.
Well, you're wrong on the Trump policy, and you're wrong on spending.
Okay, we'll give a 1 minute closing to Dean. Started, so we'll 1 minute closing for Dean, and then 1 minute for Nick.
Oh, you could go first, Nick.
Who gave the first opening statement? You or me?
It was Dean who started first.
Yeah, so Dean, we'll let Nick finish.
That means I go last.
Dean, you start.
And then Dean, the next one, Nick will start.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's fine. I was just looking first so I should justify what I said there. So yeah, my closing statement would just be, right, obviously I think that economic policy is a very prime reason to vote for Kamala Harris because she's going to make the average American better off. Donald Trump is not going to make the average American better off. He's going to make them worse off with his tariffs. Right, Nick essentially did concede there, saying that tariffs do cause higher prices for the consumers at the grocery store. And then Nick also just kind of says that he doesn't really care about debt, okay? So if you want more debt, vote for Donald Trump because he's going to throw $5.8 trillion on our nation's debt. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris's proposed tax policy is going to be self-sufficient over the 10-year lifespan of the bill. And then one other final point here, there's much more reasons why Kamala Harris is a better candidate than Donald Trump that we didn't get a touch on, such as the fact that we probably shouldn't be voting for a rapist. We probably shouldn't be voting for a religious persecutor. We should probably be voting for the individual that wants to enshrine federal protections for all 170 million American women and girls' right to choose, right? And plenty of other reasons that we didn't get to. And I'm sad that we didn't. And hopefully we might be able to get back around to it later. But I'll go and get to the rest of my time. Take it away.
Yeah. All right. Well, Aiden and Sneeko, could we do immigration? I feel like that's a big one. We could do a few of these other issues. It's a big issue.
Can you just do your statement really quick?
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, can we make that one of the topics?
Well, that's something that we had to talk about prior. Dean, if you would like to as well, we could do that the next.
Can you repeat that? I was a little bit.
He wants to talk about immigration. If you want to keep Trump or Kamala going, we have other subjects, but on the subject of Trump or Kamala,
you guys didn't agree to that prior. But if you guys want to agree to do an immigration, we can do that next. It's up to you guys. Both you have to agree.
Yeah, you just want to see. I mean, like maybe we could throw it in there at the end. I mean, get through the 4 topics we have agreed upon.
Sure.
If there's time, we might be able to talk about it.
Okay. So please give your closing statement, Nick.
Yeah. So I mean, my closing statement on Trump. I don't even think fiscal policy is the biggest issue. To me, that's really a side issue. And the reason is because both parties are profligate spenders. Republicans, Democrats are both profligate spenders. Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, they're all huge spenders. They're huge spenders on military. They're not touching liabilities. You know, there's talk about tax cuts, increasing the deficit. You can look at the Laffer curve and, debate whether that's really the case. I mean, the theory behind tax cuts is that It stimulates economic growth, which it certainly does. It brings in more tax revenue. Maybe you find that convincing, maybe you don't. The point is, neither party's going to rein in the deficit. I just don't think it's an issue. In terms of tariffs, the consensus has changed. Democrats and Republicans used to be free traders. They're not anymore. Bill Clinton, Bush, Obama were free traders. They're just not anymore. Trump is not a free trader. Biden's not a free trader. Trump has tariffs. Biden has tariffs. And that's because there's a recognition that we need to have a supply chain in America. 85% of the economy in America is services. Only 15% is construction, agriculture, and manufacturing. And this is it's not only a national security issue, but it's also a jobs issue. We need to make stuff in America. The only way that we're going to beat these other countries that are undercutting us with wages is with tariffs to protect our industries. And yes, that does result in technically marginally higher consumer prices, but it's more important to have good jobs in industry.
All right, that was good. So we'll circle back to Trump and Kamala, but to keep it on the subject, we have 4 very different topics right now.
Real quick before, I just want to say thank you both for giving you guys, you guys are very letting each other talk and stuff. Thank you, I appreciate that. Go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry to cut you off.
All right, so the next subject that we agreed upon was Christianity, but to make it interesting, Nick, we can be more specific. We could talk about Christian nationalism.
Sure.
Okay, so the subject will be: is Christian nationalism good or bad? And
okay.
Well, let's start with Nick because we started with Dean last time. But we'll do let's do 3-minute intro. I'll give you a 1-minute warning, and then I'll give Dean a 3-minute intro, and then we'll go free flowing. And if it's interruptions, we'll time it. But it goes good so far. But Nick, take the floor. 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, I believe that America should have a religious government. We should have a Christian, Catholic government. And, we have to face the fact that liberalism has failed. And the best example that liberalism is failing is that we're not having enough kids. The society, the civilization that doesn't have kids will cease to exist, and it will lose. And it is losing. Liberalism around the world is receding, and these more ancient, tribal, perennial cultures are thriving. Islam is the fastest growing religion. China is on the rise. Tribalism, racialism, all these.
They want to force babies into the world. Don't get an abortion. Don't do that. The babies are entering into this world, and the world is terrible because nobody can make up on their mind over the fucking truth, which is a thing that is up and above shouldn't be dictating what goes down in the bottom. Do you understand? So, even if it is real or not, which it is not, obviously, that shouldn't have a say on literally everything we do, because that's psychotic. My mother, she's my mom, she gave birth to me. She does have a say on what I do, but not everything I do, because that would be ridiculous, and I would have no life if my mom dictated whatever I did or whatever it is. Especially, you can put the same view as Christianity or any religion. God, literally, the Bible and the Quran and every other book related to those religions, they control everything you do, and there's always a say, and there's always something, there's always something. And that's not how nobody should be living for real. And it's crazy how he said that's how the government should be, which is the thing that runs all in the country. And that's actually sick. That's actually very sick that he would say something like that.
These things, all these revanchist, historic ideologies are on the rise, and they're all beating back liberalism because liberalism is weak. It is ineffectual. It's causing all kinds of perversity, degeneracy. People are not having kids. It's just sort of like anti-human and inimical to the human body. So, in addition to Catholicism and Christianity being true, liberalism is clearly bankrupt. Liberalism is clearly having a hard time. I think we should replace our state religion of liberalism with the state religion of Christianity. And I'm interested to see where Dean wants to take it, because obviously it's a huge topic, but I think we should have a Catholic country, not a liberal atheist one.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of different ways that a conversation about Christian nationalism can go. I've debated people on Christian nationalism before that will concede even if Christianity is false, right? We should still be a country that upholds Christian nationalism because it promotes better outcomes. But I think there's a couple points there that I'd just like to respond to real quick about declining birth rates, immigration. That's crazy. Then about, a couple of the other points that you brought up, I particularly think that Christian nationalism is bad because it doesn't allow us to effectively legislate. Given the Christian religion, right, we are led to believe that particular things are wrong because God said so. You said that you're Catholic. I think in the Catholic faith, you'll kind of have a different range on how bad things are. Something can be a mortal sin, a venial sin. But something that I'd say here that is a very absurd conclusion given Christian nationalism is shit like blasphemy. So blasphemy as defined by the Bible is the worst sin that anyone can commit. Does that mean that people should go to jail for life for blasphemy? Well, I don't know, because we know that people should go to jail for life for murder. And if blasphemy is worse than murder, and we're operating under a system in a society with a government that legislates on the basis of the Bible and these foundational beliefs as prescribed by Christianity, Are we going to start sending people to jail for blasphemy too? I don't see how you'd be able to respond to that. I don't. And then like a couple other things that we could say here. The Bible promotes very harmful bad beliefs. I mean, 1 Samuel 15:3, God tells Saul and his men to genocide the Amalekite men, women, and girls. I bet if I was to engage in a conversation with this guy specifically about 1 Samuel 15:3, we'll end up saying that sometimes genocide's okay. Leviticus 25 verses 44 through 46. God tells the Israelites that they can own the non-Israelites as human property for life. I bet if I was to have a conversation with this guy about that topic, he'd end up saying that no, slavery hasn't always been wrong, alongside other things. Right? So we could talk about how Christianity is false. We could talk about how it doesn't allow us to effectively legislate. We could talk about the absurdities that are already present in the Bible. But one last point that I'd like to bring up is if you're going to make an argument on the basis of the efficacy and the outcomes in which it would generate in society, which seemingly you started to there, well, what if we find another religion that generates better outcomes than the one that you hold to?
1 minute.
Okay, so the reason that you want a Christian nation is because it will promote human well-being and happiness. People are going to be having more kids and following these commandments. They'll be doing good. No degeneracy, none of that shit. Well, what if I told you that the LDS church had even better outcomes than the Catholic church? Would you all of a sudden be in support of an LDS-led state? Probably not. Okay, right? So that's another contradiction on its own. So feel free to kind of pick and choose there, respond to the point that you want to take it away.
So you said about birth rates or immigration. Well, here's the problem. Okay, one, the people that have liberalism are killing themselves. Okay, so the people that invented liberalism, that live in liberal societies, literally and figuratively are killing themselves. They're committing suicide. They're dying.
The guy that you worship.
Okay, are you going to interrupt me like 30 seconds into my rebuttal? That's crazy. No confidence in liberalism. They commit suicide. They die from desert despair. They're addicted to drugs, all kinds of things. They're all dying over there. Okay, we're dying in America. We're dying in Europe. And by the way, these people come from non-liberal or illiberal societies, and then their birth rate goes down. So even if you wanted to argue, oh, well, like, we could salvage liberalism with an endless supply of immigration from illiberal societies that have kids, when they get here, their birth rate goes down. And these are not liberal people. They come from illiberal places like China or Africa or Latin America. They come here, they assimilate, and within a few generations, the birth rate goes down because liberalism is suicidal. With regard to the question about efficacy and outcomes, I'm not arguing that we should have the religion with the best efficacy. I said liberalism has failed. And we know it's failed because it's committing suicide. So clearly liberalism as a system is not working. And that's why.
And then are we going to look into the reasons why people are committing suicide to even begin with? They're killing themselves because they don't have enough money, so they rather not live in the streets. They rather just kill themselves in their little dainty apartment. They're killing themselves because of school. School is a very bad place. A lot of mental health. I had mental health in middle school. I was going through something. People are killing themselves because of their health. Their health is declining, so they don't want to deal with that. People don't kill themselves because the American economy, it's something like that, right? But they don't kill themselves because they're not living under Christianity. They're killing them. Some people kill themselves because of Christianity. They can't handle it no more of like peer pressuring, and they don't know how to get away. So they, especially back in the day. So we have to he needs to look into the reason why people are killing themselves to begin with, okay? And making the world Christian or having a Catholic government, that's not going to make anything better, and that's not going to prevent suicide either, okay? Because I would commit suicide if I was under that kind of presidency. Or not presidency, government-see.
It's such a radical notion. People think that we would have blasphemy laws or religious laws. They think it's a radical notion. It's unthinkable. The current system must be replaced. It's an imperative. It's not a question of, whether or how or anything like that. It simply must be because it will cease to exist. And so that's really the crux of the argument. Why it should be Catholicism. It's because Catholicism is true. But the point I'm trying to make is for people that say it's so radical that we would go backwards. I would say we went backwards with liberalism as evidenced by the fact that it's not even reproducing itself. And that's a huge problem. With regard to the stuff about the Old Testament, I mean, look, the Catholic Church, Christians today are not in favor of genocide or slavery. If you want to get into this is just like new atheism 101. Are you an atheist? Are you an atheist or something?
I'm an agnostic, but I wouldn't particularly use these verses in the Bible to say that your religion is false. I use these verses in the Bible to say that your religion is absurd. To say that your religion is false.
I just wanted to ask you that, and then let me finish the last point. So it's very funny when atheists who have no objective source of morality, it's like, their morality is something like, hey man, just leave everybody alone. What if I disagree? What if my morality says, well, I want to kill everybody or something? What if the majority of people said our morality says, well, we want to harm and we want to rape and we want to do this and that? An atheist has no God that says, well, so-and-so has the authority to say this is correct. That's a problem.
And which one is psychotic? Okay. Because what he's saying is literally psychoticness. The one person who only does good because they're constantly being looked at by something that never reveals itself. Or let me put it in like more something that doesn't sound dumb as shit, like I just said. Like anyways. So which one is psychotic? I'm only doing good because my mother is watching over me constantly. That's the only reason why I'm doing good things. That's why I'm doing this. Not because I want to do it. It's because if I don't do it, then I'm going to get a whooping, okay? Rather than getting candy. Rather than the person who says, I only do good because I feel like it's good and it's no thing telling me otherwise. And I don't need my mother to tell me to do something good because I know what's good. That's exactly what Christian and non-Christian. I don't need a higher power to tell me what is good and what is not. Because clearly, committing genocide and killing little boys and girls is because they were a different species, even though it wasn't no harm to me or anything. Clearly, I'm not going to follow that. I do what I feel like is good, and that's kept me good. If you went up to people who talk to me, be friends with me, no one has ever said this bitch is the worst person ever, who's like psychotic. No one will ever say that. Rather, if you go out to a Christian, like Christian people or people under religion, they're like, some are not. I met some who are not, thank God, and I was friends with them. But most of them are just like weird, and they constantly want to inflict whatever they believe on other people, which is odd, okay? Which is very odd. A lot of people are Christian. A lot of people believe in religion, okay? Why do you need to constantly inflict whatever you feel like? You think everyone needs to be it? Yes, you do. Why? Just let us rot in hell, okay? But supposedly. So that's crazy how he needs a God to look over him to see if he's for him to do good, rather than just you having a sense. You know, like that makes no sense. I'm not committing crime because of police. No, I'm not shooting up a school because I'm gonna go to jail. I'm not shooting up a school because that's fucking terrible. That's literally what it is.
Problem. And yeah, they have a problem with blasphemy laws. It is good to have a God that is a source of authority, that gives us our morality, that is unquestionable. With regard to the Old Testament, if you want to get into the debate about, what's bad, I would start with the question of how do you know what's bad?
Hey, Nick, I'm sorry.
You claim that certain things are bad. You don't know where good and bad comes from. And how do we know that good and bad are even real? If we're all material, if we're only atoms and we don't have souls, why does it matter what happens to any of us? I mean, what is justice? Is there such a thing as the conceptual? If there is only matter, where is the conceptual? Can we see it? Can we feel it? Is it located somewhere?
We made up this bad and good shit because we think more than any animal who's ever lived. Okay? Nothing's good and nothing's bad. But since we are the most intelligent species in the world, we decipher the two. We decipher and we made up our own little shit. Nothing's bad and nothing's good. We can base that on this universe. It's built many beautiful things, but it's going to end in a couple trillion years. That is seen as bad, but it also can be seen as good because it's a new beginning. New beginning to what? We don't even fucking know. Us humans, we made up stuff like this. Because out in the wild, out in Africa, there's cubs being killed by male lions just to mate with girl lions. That is bad, but that is the reality, and that is what goes on, whether we like it or not. The sun is going to explode in 1 billion years. It's going to destroy everything that's surrounded, and that is seen as bad. But the reality, bad, even though something's bad, it doesn't stop and make it good. Do you understand? So us humans, we made up that shit because we can get sad and we can get angry, and we made it something to decipher, to not make us these things. Death is seen as bad because it's something was taken away that you love or whatever. But in reality, it's also a good thing because it helps the earth recycle and recycle and recycle. And if everybody who lived on here and every creature that lived on here never died, that will be bad, right? So what is bad? We made that shit up, okay? So, yeah.
Well, and I'm making a point here. I'll wrap it up quickly. So for an atheist to point to the Old Testament and say, well, how could a God who does these things be so immoral? I would say to the godless, what is moral and who are we if we're not just stardust being rearranged. I mean, slavery, these things, these are conceptual. It can only exist with a real philosophical viewpoint, not with this kind of lame, like, Spy Daddy isn't real sort of stuff. So, there's just a lot of assumptions there that kind of need to be interrogated.
Okay, Dean,
I think what needs to be interrogated is the fact that you asked people, what do I do? A group of people likes to murder, rape, and kill others. What if God said that? I think that's a question that we need to ask.
Then we would have to do it.
Wait, really? If God told you to rape and kill a baby, would you do it?
Well, God would never do that because God is good and those things are evil.
Okay, so raping and killing is evil. So when he commanded you to kill babies in Malachi in 1 Samuel 15:3, that was evil?
God is telling us to rape and kill babies right now?
So specifically about killing, in 1 Samuel 15:3, he did command Saul and his men to kill the Amalekite babies.
Rape babies? He told them to rape babies?
No, to kill babies.
Well, yeah, then if I were one of those guys, I would have done it, but not rape them.
Okay, so if God commanded you to kill a baby today, would you do it?
Yes.
Okay, so why would you kill a baby, but you wouldn't rape a baby?
Because that would be cruel or something.
Wait, is killing a baby not cruel?
In the Old Testament, it worked differently.
No, I'm talking about
a fallen world.
You particularly said that you would kill a baby today if God asked you.
And that's what gets the Christians in the chokehold. Whenever I see Dean ask these questions, these Christians are like, all of them say no. All of them say no. Or they're very hesitant because they know religion is fake. If you really follow the religion, if you really want to put it in the goddamn government, you want to convince everyone you meet to become religious, become Christian, become Islam, whatever, but you can't answer this question or you hesitate, then you're not what you think you are.
But you wouldn't rape a baby if God asked you. So how come you kill a baby today but not rape a baby?
Because the context of the Old Testament is that it's a fallen world, and that's the context you're talking about. You said that in the Old Testament,
dude, we're not talking about. Please answer my question.
We literally are.
Well,
if we're not talking about, wait. If we're not talking about the Old Testament, what are we talking about?
About the fact that you told me today, if God commanded you to kill a baby, you would do it, and then I followed that up by asking you, if God commanded you to rape a baby, would you do it? And you said
God would do that because it's evil.
Okay, so killing a baby today, you would do if God commanded it, but raping a baby today, you wouldn't do because God wouldn't command it.
Well, first of all,
are you making the implication that killing a baby today isn't evil?
No. What you said is that in the Old Testament.
Do that either, right?
Well, hang on. Let's rewind. Let's rewind because you said in the Bible God says to rape babies. Can you just retract that? No, if you rewind. Yeah, okay. People can rewind the clip. You said kill and rape babies because you got and rape people because you got a little ahead of yourself. Because you got a little ahead of yourself.
Nick, I will really clear this up so easily. Okay. If I said God commanded Saul and his men to rape babies in 1 Samuel 15:3, I misspoke. In 1 Samuel 15:3, God commands Saul and his men to kill babies. But you are not answering my question. This is a damn non-answer. Every single person watching the stream can see that you said if God commanded you to kill a baby today, you said you would do it. Can you affirm that?
Can we be serious? Can we be serious for a second?
We are being dead serious. Can you affirm the fact that you said if God told you to kill a baby, you do it?
Can we be serious? Can we grow up?
Why won't you answer my question?
See, now that's the difference from excitement. He's laughing other than what he was doing before, being irritated and using a lot of hand movement. He knows he caught him into a trap. And him squinting, usually when you're squinting, you don't know what you're seeing. But he's squinting because he doesn't know what to say. And now he's got him in the trap!
Well, because we're talking about the Old Testament, are we not?
Dude, we're talking about today. How many times do I need to say that?
You're talking about the Old Testament. You're citing the Old Testament. You're talking about a specific verse in the Old Testament.
Oh my God,
you can giggle, but can we confirm that we're talking about the Old Testament? Is that correct? What are we talking about?
Exactly. I'll tell you exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about the fact that I asked you a damning hypothetical question. I asked you.
It's not. It's a cheap context. No. It's a cheap context
because you don't want to talk because you know that you're losing.
Yeah, because the Old Testament says bad things in it. I know. I'm a new atheist, and I just discovered. Here's my answer to your question, if you allow me to answer it. I know you want a cheap gotcha question, but let's add a little context. The Old Testament takes place in a fallen world. We live in a fallen world because we have free will. Okay, God created human beings. Human beings disobeyed God and sinned. Because we disobeyed God and sinned, we have the penalty of death, war, shame, guilt, pain at birth, all these things. In the fallen world, people kill. In the fallen world, people kill, people lie, cheat, steal. Cain kills Abel. In the world, the fallen world, before Jesus Christ arrived, it was a world with slavery and warfare and iniquity. It is in this context.
And God did nothing to save his children. He did not send Jesus back down. Jesus did not come down to save any of it, which is the main part what I say to every Christian. This is what I say to get a Christian in a chokehold. Why he didn't do anything. Why? Okay. I can say something and do it, and I know everything, okay? I know everything, but I still commit wrong choices. Not as damaging as a normal person would do, but I still commit damage. Now, the all-knowing God, he is not me. He knows supposedly everything, but he made a mistake. I'm a human being. He is not. obviously. God cannot make a mistake, and that is what the problem. God cannot make a mistake. What is going on right now? Then people made up the shit free will. How much free will can one take before it destroys everything in its path? And that's exactly Earth. Earth is dying thanks to us. But they want more babies, don't they? Yeah.
Next. That God commanded the chosen people to kill certain tribes to establish their survival to secure a line for the coming of the Messiah. God does not approve of killing because it says in the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill. God does not approve of rape because it says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, and so on and so forth. So God obviously does not support killing, raping. Oh, would you kill and rape a baby? No. But in the Bible, God prescribes laws and specific actions at the beginning of the world, which was fallen without Christ, without a savior, in sin, for the survival of the chosen people. So the rules worked a little bit differently in the Old Testament. It doesn't mean that, and of course, taking a life in and of itself, hang on, there's a difference everybody knows between killing and murder. If I go and murder you for no reason, that's immoral. If I kill in self-defense or self-defense of my children, it's a different story. God commanding the people of the Old Testament is an extraordinary exception based on the fallen old world. That's one. Two, when Jesus Christ arrives, he fulfills the law and saves people from hell. Before Jesus Christ arrived, nobody could even go to heaven, and it was a world of iniquity. And Jesus Christ changed and created this modern world that we're living in. So now here's the thing. God is the authority. If God commands us to, look, I know it's a complicated issue. You can't fit it into a TikTok where you do the Destiny drive-by to, what's making your grocery prices higher? But it's actually a complicated issue where we're talking about evil, the existence of evil. So does that mean that God is not an authority? Of course not. God is an authority. Would God command us to do those things today? Probably not. But if he did, in a hypothetical scenario, we'd have to trust God if we truly believe in God. Otherwise, you would say something like, we know more than God, or God is not good, or we're better than God, and that negates the concept of a God or good itself.
He hesitated on his answer. Now he's going to ramble and ramble and ramble and ramble. And they're, Aiden Ross and whatever this guy's name is, they're not going to stop him because they're Christian. This is not fair at all. This is usually what us atheists and people who think rationally have to deal with every day. People not letting us talk. People teaming up, but they said they weren't on us and not letting us get the chance to say the truth. So that's when we have to say things to get people here and hope they don't get out. I see some things knowing it's going to draw people in, because when I start saying the actual truth, people are going to run away from it. And that's what he's doing right now. So, he's a moderator. He's not been letting him speak. I don't think he knows he's in a debate right now. But you say a topic, someone executes that topic, and we will move forth. You can't sit there and ramble and ramble and ramble, because that's not a debate. That's just you waiting for someone to finish speaking, like I do with my sisters when I'm arguing.
So that's my answer to your, so when you say killing babies, it ties into like abortion policy. It's just like cheap, low IQ, left-wing bullshit. But anyway, go ahead.
Cool, thank you. So I hear everything that you just said. I will give that a great response. I sure did. But before I give that a response, I wanted to take a brief moment to go back to the question that I was attempting to get you to answer prior. I understand that you just kind of gave me the story of the Old and New Covenant. We had different rules before, the Messiah came back down, created the New Covenant, whatever. I get it. Thank you. Okay. But the question that I asked you was, if God commanded you to kill a baby, would you do it? You said yes. I then asked you, Nick Fuentes, if God commanded you to rape a baby, would you do it? And you said, no, that's too cruel. If you'd like to take 15 seconds to kind of clear up that gap, does that make the implication that killing a baby isn't
I answered the question.
You didn't.
Okay. Is this a debate about Christian nationalism, or is this like a weird new atheist? And by the way, why do you think killing is wrong? Where do you get that information from?
So first of all, I don't think that killing is inherently wrong. I think that murder is wrong. Okay.
Okay. So you agree with me then?
Right. And then what I'd say here about murder is that's just going to be driven given my intuitions. I'm a subjectivist. We all know this, but I think you are too. Would you agree with me?
Subjectivist.
Would you agree with me that objectivism can be defined as like a stance independent, like truth?
It's an independent truth? What did you say? I didn't hear you.
Like a stance independent truth. That's what it means for
a stance independent truth?
Yeah.
Of independent truth, or that there is independent truth?
Okay. Wow.
The sentence construction doesn't make sense.
Okay, so like in philosophy, right? When we're referencing terms such as moral objectivism or moral subjectivism, we define objectivism given when I say murder is wrong, that is true independent of any stance, of any actor, of any mind. Okay, when I say
I understand what you're saying. I don't understand the construction. I'm not. You're like mumbling to yourself. Yeah, no, I believe subjectivism is that there's an independent truth. Yes.
Okay, so is morality independent of God?
No, because God is morality. God is good.
So morality is subject to God.
Okay. Ooh, could God create a box so heavy he couldn't lift it? Yeah, that's great. So if you believe that killing is not...
I didn't give you a contradiction. I just showed you that you're a subjectivist.
I know. Thank you. So, so where do you believe that killing is wrong then? So you believe it's subjective. You don't believe it's absolutely wrong.
10 minutes.
Yeah,
right?
Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that, Aiden?
10 minutes, guys.
Great. Yeah. So I mean, I could kind of give you.
So this Nick guy, he's 26 years old. I thought he was like 38 or something. That's crazy. That will believing in Jesus do it to
you a little bit of an overview of my stance here on morality. So metaethically, I'm just gonna be a subjectivist, a relativist. When we like to reference like why I think things are wrong, it's just gonna be driven my intuitions. I mean, like we could talk about different moral frameworks. I myself am what is called a threshold deontologist, meaning that I believe that like particular things can be always wrong, but meanwhile we should consider like the consequences of others. It's pretty interesting.
Is Holocaust wrong?
Yeah, the Holocaust was wrong.
Objectively?
No, because objective truth in the context of morality doesn't exist. Nothing's
in your opinion, it's wrong.
That standard doesn't exist.
In your opinion, it's wrong.
In accordance with my index standard, it's wrong. Yeah, but I mean, just saying, oh, you believe in subjectivism, but I'm gonna like counter that by asking you, is it objectively wrong? That doesn't really achieve anything. I could literally.
What is your qualification?
Was the Holocaust objectively wrong?
Of course, it was wrong. Of course,
but you disagreed with me that morality is subject to God.
Because morality is God. It's identity, not subjectivity.
Wait, God is identical to morality?
Yes, God is good. God is the good.
Okay, so when I say that like hugging your mom is good, I'm just saying that hugging your mom is God.
Yes.
Okay. So can you just say that for me? Like every single time you kiss your wife, that's a really God thing to do.
Love is good. An act of love that expresses love is good. God is the good. God is being itself. We are participating in being.
Oh, wait, now we have some more issues here, because earlier you told me that God would never command you to like rape a baby because that's evil, but now you're saying that God is identical to goodness, meaning if God is all powerful in the sense that he could do anything that's logically possible and he's identical to goodness, why wouldn't he be able to tell you to rape a baby?
Did you say grape?
I did. TikTok words. I know.
Well, God also tells us that God's plan is very complex.
Why won't you answer my question?
Because these are just like low IQ.
No, that's not a low IQ point at all. We're literally talking about what you think goodness is, what its derivative, and how it would apply to your God. Actually, we could extrapolate this out to the problem of evil as a whole, right? Like you actually said earlier that you think that the Holocaust is objectively wrong. Would you say
if it happened at all, by the way? But yeah, let's theoretically.
What the fuck? Hey, dude, Nick, what the fuck, bro?
Yeah, this guy's over here saying,
"Oh my
if the Holocaust happened," but then he asked me if the Holocaust is objectively wrong. Get a load of this joker. So I just want to ask you a fucking quick question.
Get a load of this joker.
Oh yeah, get a load of this.
How about another joke? What do you got?
You need to unmute your mic.
Get a load of this.
You want to tell me another joke? Keep talking. I'm going to go ahead and ask you a question. Would you say all things considered that the Holocaust is wrong?
If it were real, yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It is. And it absolutely is.
You're so fucking spineless. How the fuck can you sit in front of 45,000 people and say that the most well-documented thing that has ever happened in history might not have happened? I want to ask you a question. How the fuck do you know that Jesus resurrected from the dead, but you don't know if the Holocaust happened? Please answer that question.
Shroud of Turin.
like, just come on. Like, and these are the Christians. I care about everyone. I care. Terrible. That's terrible. You're making jokes over things like that. Like, and I hate when people do that. And sometimes, like, I turn off, like, that section of my brain because people talk about so much. Like, I forget. Well, I don't forget, but I can't put the two meanings together because people constantly joke about these terrible things. Oh, I hate Jews, you black people, you niggers. And then I fast forward to the slavery and what the people had to deal with when Hitler did them things to them. That is not okay. I don't joke about things like that. You shouldn't be joking things like that. So when people joke at things like that, I don't put like, oh, they can't be talking about that. They can't be talking about that, especially if they're Christians and they care about the people. And then things like this. It's just like, slavery it was the worst thing ever. The Holocaust with the people, and this is because sometimes I forget, I turn that, I just like, I don't think it as bad as it truly is. Recently watched a documentary, or not like a live action, of what people in the Holocaust did with people starving, obviously, dying in like little huts that they had, well, not little huts, little houses, bodies stacked, like dead bodies stacked, burning them, and these were in the concentration camps. Most didn't even speak the language that Hitler's. It was just like terrible, like 50 people stuffed in like my size room, like even probably smaller than this. Is disgusting. It's inhumane. And guess what? Hitler was a goddamn Christian.
Shroud of Turin that's been taken by the Shroud of Turin is a more reliable standard for evidence than the 250
and the thing that didn't happen
justify that the Holocaust exists.
Listen, this isn't a Holocaust debate. Let's try to stay focused. This is a Christianity debate.
No, let's talk about it. The Shroud of Turin specifically, we had 4 different group of scientists take different parts of it. None of them could date it back to anything after 400 years AD.
I'm just saying it's a lot of people.
No, I want you to tell me.
America is the country that everyone, wants to be at because it cares for the people. And then we have people like this who don't care about the people. They care to control people, And that's exactly what this debate is: caring / controlling the people. Caring for the people and controlling. I care about people, to be honest. I do. That's why I hate men, because they hurt people. I don't hate them because they did something to me personally. I don't give a fuck what they do to me personally. I don't care. It's what they did to many people. Men. Dean, I consider him a boy still, even though he's like 1 year older than me or something. But anyways, long story short, terrible. These people are terrible. They believe in the holy thou. But I meet people who are, doesn't believe, which I rarely meet them, better than the people who do. And there are nice people who are religious. 99% of them are women.
How the fuck you know that Jesus rose from the dead with a lack of any historical evidence that exists from during his lifetime from a first-person experience?
Calm down. This is a factual debate.
Happened.
This is a factual debate, Kamala. Tampon Tim.
Yeah,
hey, listen, Tampon Tim, this is about
facts.
1, Shroud of Turin. Impossible to create other than with Jesus ascending into heaven. That's 1. 2, all I'm saying is, that's a lot of bodies. Unless we forgot the technology to cremate them. Look, I don't know. I wasn't there, and you weren't either.
The Shroud of Turin. Wait. So you're telling me that it was absolutely impossible for impossible for the Shroud of Turin to exist? Then please tell me
you don't
why.
know the facts.
Then please tell me why. Tell me why the earliest carbon dating on the Shroud of Turin that we've gotten from the material used to create the Shroud of Turin is from 1200 AD.
That's not true. That's not even true.
It's either 400.
You can fact check that. That's not even true. They just did a new study on it, and they proved it's 100% real.
They proved it's 100% real.
It's 100%. It's like super real. That's 1.
Okay.
2, we have secular historians that testify that Jesus was a real person and was crucified. Josephus, Tacitus. We also have
Josephus isn't secular. Let's get our facts straight. He was a Jewish.
Okay, he was Jewish. Okay, he was Jewish. I mean non-Christian. Thank you for the clarification. Are we good?
Secular mean non-Christian?
Are we good? You know what I meant. I mean, if you were to say that a Christian source is biased, then arguably a non-Christian source would be unbiased. That's the point. Josephus, Tacitus. But you also have the earliest versions of the gospel stories going back to the 1st century. The earliest fragments of it go back to the 1st century. And you have people that went to their death. That's part of why Christianity spread. They went to their death. The Christians were martyred, testifying that they saw a resurrected Jesus. Liars don't go to their death testifying that something happened if it didn't. Certainly not, 11 out of 12 of them, or every single one of them. And that is the basis of how it spread in the ancient world. So, there's that. There's the Shroud of Turin. There's non-Christian historians. There's the fragments of the gospel.
Yeah, so
there's the prophecy.
But Holocaust never happened. Over a million. That's a lot of people. A million is a lot of people. I'm just saying, over a million people died, killed, beaten by one man that everyone liked. Not one person stood against him, right? Not one person, because if he did, he would never committed suicide, right? They got to him. They really cared of getting to this evil fucking man, Hitler. They would have done it quicker, but not quick enough because he took his own life. Do you understand? So. But 12 eyewitnesses of Jesus Christ, or how many? Over a million people. He's going to go for the Jesus Christ one. You see how idiotic that is? Rather than the photos, maybe videos, the deaths, the history. Not more than 12 people were solid. Over a million people experience it. But no. That's sick. He's a sick person.
That are fulfilled by Jesus in the New Testament.
So the Shroud of Turin, that shit just goes straight out the fucking window. We have carbon dated it. Not a piece of it dates back to when Jesus was alive in accordance with Josephus and Tacitus, which you reported.
Carbon dating is flawed.
Oh, okay.
Carbon dating is flawed. And that's not true.
It's earlier than it is, but we just don't know
that's not true. Well, 1, it's not real because carbon dating says that like dinosaurs.
Then how do we know that it was from Jesus?
And 2, there was a recent study done. There was a recent study that was done that showed that it literally would not even be possible using the technology.
By the way, there's more evidence of big-ass fucking creatures millions of years ago, dinosaurs. And Christians rebuke people who are religious in general don't believe in evolution, right? Because we just two people just show up on the earth randomly, or you're made out of clay. More evidence is shown of creatures even before dinosaurs existed. We have more evidence of that than the person who saved humanity, but humanity is still disgusting. You see how disgusting that sounds? The person, we should be studying this person. If Jesus actually existed, or, actually was that holy savior, it should have been studied in school, right? It doesn't get studied because nobody is sure. I'm sure. I'm most sure than everyone on this fucking shit. No one's sure. But they claim they are. That doesn't make any sense. The dinosaurs are farther back than Jesus Christ. Way further back. But we have more evidence of them than Jesus Christ. Or any evidence in general of any religion. Any. But God is everywhere, But we have little to no evidence of God, nor Jesus. But they saved us and he's everywhere. Than the creatures more than 50 million years ago. Isn't that hard? Isn't that crazy? Yeah, that is.
At the time to create a forgery. So it had to have been created by something with luminosity that just didn't exist back then for it to imprint throughout the entire shroud. They didn't have that kind of technology back then.
Wait, I have a question.
It's impossible to create it any other way.
Do you mind if I ask you a question here? Okay, so I like this argument. Let's just go ahead and say that you're right. It was impossible to create without some sort of divinity. Jesus Christ is a prophet of the Islamic religion. Can you please give me any reason to believe that Christianity is true more so than Islam being true?
That's just a stupid question.
Luminosity could be granted, either Islam being true
or Christianity being true? Let me ask you this question. Do you know what Muslims believe about Jesus Christ and the crucifixion? Can you tell me?
Prophet of God. He didn't actually die on the cross. Someone else stepped in his shoes.
So what was the Shroud of Turin? Do you know?
Oh, it was over him in the burial.
So how would we know Islam isn't true? Well, let's see. If he wasn't actually crucified, then how would they lay the shroud over his body and his soul leave to make the imprint? So you don't even know what you're talking about.
No, you don't know what you're talking about.
Tried to work it out on the fly. Doesn't even know the order of it. How could the Muslim Jesus leave the Shroud of Turin imprint if he was never crucified and then therefore
what did they say about the person that was crucified?
Hello?
What did they say about the person that was crucified? Who did he look like? Who did he present as?
But he wasn't Jesus, so he wouldn't have ascended into heaven and left the luminosity. It would be his lookalike.
Oh, that's terrible.
You can say that, but you don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, wait, I don't know.
Normal people, they said it was a body double, someone who looked like Jesus. Normal people don't leave a luminous imprint on the shroud they put on them at the point of...
I just want to say, at one point when I was still hesitant, I used to say, no matter how much shit I talk about them, but justifiable. Islam, I feel like I felt like this is my words back in the day, not now. I would be, more believing of that than Christianity. Because the Christians are just absurd, okay? They don't really know what path they want to go on. Besides the Muslim, they're actually very, very dedicated in their religion, so much so that they kill and attack. Especially in some foreign countries. Anyone who does the littlest sin in Islam or just doesn't believe, they will kill you for it. Christians, yeah, because they're more dedicated. Which one would you go for, the more dedicated one or the one that more people believe in, but it's full of shit? Both of them are full of shit though, to be honest. But they're dedicated very much so, rather than Christians praying 5 times a day. When I was a Christian, I didn't pray 5 times a day. Not hand doing sitting down when you're eating, taking out a rug and praying for 10 minutes every single fucking day. That takes dedication. So yeah, that's the only thing I'm going to give to them.
Of death. So the lookalike wouldn't have done that.
Wait, I'm just curious. Can you give me the study?
I don't know the name of it off the top of my head, but it was recently completed.
Sure, I would love to.
You should investigate it. You'd probably become a Christian if you're being...
Hey guys, let's do hey, real quick, let's do a 2-minute closing statement. We're going to start with you, Nick. We're going to get on to the next topic. Go ahead.
Sure. So, the good news is we just had a platform to demonstrate the historicity of the resurrection of Jesus. You do have real archaeological evidence like the Shroud of Turin. You have the Gospels. You have the secular historians. No serious historian would testify that Jesus wasn't real or didn't live or wasn't crucified. And if Christianity spread throughout the Roman Empire, it's because of the well-documented martyrdom of the disciples of the early church. if you would go to your death testifying that something, a lie or fabrication didn't happen, then maybe you believe they all faked it. I think that you go to your death only if you saw something true. And even still, people won't tell the truth if they're afraid of the mafia. You would only go to your death telling the truth if it was God in the flesh. So I think that's just all obvious. With all that being said, we should have a Catholic government. We all have a conscience. The moral law comes from God. It's also written on our hearts, and we know it. And that's where our intuition comes from. The subjective idea that we get from rationality or empiricism that murder is wrong, that rape is wrong, the same objections agnostics and atheists raise against the Bible. And the thing is,
and this is why they deny evolution, but you can't deny evolution because evolution is everything. Nothing just pops up. Nothing in this world just pops up out of fucking nowhere. There has to be a process for everything. It's a process, right? So we, back in the day when we were cavemen, we were killing anything we can get our hands on. I think we made the saber-toothed tiger go extinct, and maybe the woolly mammoth, because we were attacking them so much, and we were killing each other. And we killed other Homo sapiens, like Neanderthal and the Hobbit people. We killed other Homo sapiens because we could, and we can, and we can. Okay? So now, like, I wouldn't say as of recently, but like, I would say as of recently, because back in like 200 years ago, like the 1800s and the 1700s, we were like taking Native American people from their land and still doing heinous shit, but like we still was doing like killing people and shit like that. But like back in the day when we were wearing skin of animals, we were killing anything and we didn't care. So don't say, oh, God from our hearts. No. As of recently, we started thinking that. Not back in the day. So, you're excused.
About the Old Testament, if people are turned off by that, it really just amounts to the problem of evil itself. Evil exists in the world that was created by a good God. This is answered by the philosophical concept of the privation of evil. Prior to the coming of Jesus Christ, it was a world without the good, and therefore it was evil, and thus there was no mercy, compassion, those sorts of things. But it's a very complicated topic. I hope people aren't turned off when they hear, bad things happen in the ancient world, therefore there can be no God. It's obviously false. So that's just the long and short of the whole Christian debate distilled.
Yeah, sure. So I'll go to give my closing statement.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
First, about the Shroud of Turin, anyone watching, feel free to look up any of the multiple groups of scientists that have dated the Shroud of Turin. Not a single one of them have been able to place a date on the Shroud of Turin from a point when Jesus was alive. So that's automatically thrown out of the window. About Nick's second point there, specifically about the people that went to their deaths after seeing the quote-unquote resurrected Jesus. This is something we see in all religions. I want you to go ahead and look at Prophet Muhammad's grandson in the context of the Islamic religion. He was martyred because of his beliefs in his grandfather being a prophet of God. That's present always. If this makes a religion true, all religions would be true. About your third point about the historicity of Jesus Christ, we have no first-hand accounts about Jesus Christ or his life. I do think that he was a real man that lived and died via a crucifixion, but Josephus, Tacitus, all these people came long after he died, and I think it's crazy that you're going to sit here and say that we have sufficient historical evidence to justify that Jesus Christ died and resurrected from the dead, but we don't have historical evidence to justify that the Holocaust happened and 6 million Jewish people died. I can give you a source right now that 6 million people did die. In fact, I could give you 200. For everyone watching, look up holocaustcontroversies.blogspot.com. It will give you an index of published evidence on mass extermination in Auschwitz in Germany. There will be over 200 sources there, much more abundant evidence than what he could ever give for the existence of Jesus Christ and the idea that he's our God. So already contradictory there. And about the last point about the problem of evil, you said that the privation of evil was the fact that there wasn't a lot of good before Jesus came. No, the privation of evil is an ontological status of evil. Okay, so you don't know what your philosophical terms mean. You're also confusing what the problem of evil is. Okay, right? I would say my problem of evil would be the fact
20 seconds, Dean.
Good, God's all perfect, and God's all powerful, and nothing evil should exist in the world that we live in. I wish that we could have a longer discussion about this, man. Get into philosophy, show you that you don't know shit. But I guess we're gonna move on to the next topic.
Thank you, guys. All right, we're gonna do topic number 3. Is
homosexuality bad? And we'll start with Dean again. I'll give you a 3-minute intro. Same thing in a 3 minute. And then I like the free flowing. It's been good so far.
I probably won't
Go ahead, Dean.
All right, no worries. Yeah, so I probably won't need all 3 minutes. It'll be pretty easy. I don't think that being gay is wrong because there's no good reason to believe that it is wrong. There's just, multiple arguments that, they could probably give me. One would just be gay wrong because Sky Daddy says so in the Bible. Another argument could give me something to do with like telos, like the natural function of our bodies would indicate that we have a prescriptive purpose on how we're supposed to use them. That's not how we're supposed to use them. I'd say that doesn't exist. At the end of the day, my stance is clear. Being gay is not wrong because there's no reason for it to be wrong. And I guess we'll just hear Nick's reason why it is wrong because that's probably where we're going to start. So I'll concede the rest of my time. Take it away, Nick.
Yeah, I love the Sky Daddy thing. It's like the idea that there's a transcendent God. You think there's a man in the clouds, and I don't because I listen to science. It's just like the most brain dead new atheist. I'm surprised this stuff still exists.
Bro, you told me that you kill a baby if God told you to.
Hey, Dean. Yeah, 3 minutes are up, Dean. No more interruptions.
Yeah, silence while I attack your position. So here's the thing. Okay, the homosexuality thing. I mean, we could argue that the faculty of the reproductive organs is to have sex. The purpose of them is to have sex. We have sexual organs to have sex, and sex is for the purpose of insemination, procreation. It's what it is. It's not, we can't get too creative. It always ends the same way, and it's made for one purpose. We could argue that there is a prohibition of it in the Catholic Catechism and in the Bible. But I don't even think we need to go that far. It's really a question of whether we think.
I can say the same thing about the goddamn sun. The sun just happens to be a ball of heat and energy that if it was gone, I would not be here. You wouldn't be here. The sun didn't evolve for us. It evolved from getting a lot of heat and stars collected over time. Or it's just like a big star, whatever. It didn't evolve from us. Which saying that us, just because we are here, does not mean we need to evolve others. I can say, I'm the sun. I do not need to make children. I can, right? The sun, it did not need to make creation. It didn't have the mindset to make creation, but it did. And it can. If I would have said the same thing, I do not need to reproduce with a fucking man. Okay? I can, but I don't need to. I was made from my mother of reproduce, but I do not need to reproduce. The sun was made from clusters. It reproduced the world. The whole world evolves around the sun, literally. But it didn't need to do that. It doesn't. It didn't. It can go boom and everything can go. You see? You can say the same thing about literally everything. It didn't need to be here, but it's here. Because somebody made it. The sun made itself. Nothing needs no creation. No one needs no explanation. We just do that because we're bored.
People can do whatever they want. And this gets back to morality. If your conception of morality comes from, a vague idea of empathy or do no harm, against harm, then you would say there's nothing necessarily wrong with suicide, drug abuse, homosexuality, gluttony, laziness, all kinds of other behaviors, because people say we own our bodies, we can make decisions, we're empowered, and we can kind of do whatever we want as long as we don't interfere with other people, as long as there's not an imposition on other people. That's really the fundamental premise. I reject that premise. I think that because we're created beings, we're created with a sense of dignity. Our souls and our bodies are connected, and God wants us to be dignified. And I think we all recognize that there are things that are dignified and things that are undignified. It's undignified to be an addict. It's undignified to be lazy. It's undignified to undergo a transgender surgery. It's undignified to do plastic surgery. And yes, it is undignified to engage in sodomy. What is it? 1 minute?
Yeah, 1 minute.
So, sodomy is something that is violent, it's filthy, it's undignified, and I think it's a travesty. It's such an unfortunate thing. People celebrate it to wave these flags, but they're waving a flag of really a filthy and violent and gross act that I think anybody has a natural sense of morality would reject it. So, I just think it's disgusting, and things that are disgusting are probably wrong.
Okay, your argument, it's disgusting, therefore it's wrong. Hey, Nick, got a question. Is shitting disgusting?
No. Shitting is wrong. Good point. That's a good point.
That's the argument you gave.
I never thought of it that way.
You said it's disgusting, therefore it's wrong. Yeah, shitting. That's pretty gross.
It's a pretty good heuristic. Yeah, it's a pretty good. Well, and look,
that's the account.
Well, if you want to, if you want to talk about,
it's literally so fucking simple. If your argument is, this is aesthetically unpleasing, therefore I find it disgusting, therefore I'm going to describe it as being morally wrong.
This is just first of all low IQ.
Do you mind if, no, it's not low IQ.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Explain your syllogism.
Yeah, sure. So, anyways, here's my.
And I heard some Christians say, other animals ain't do it. Other animals don't have a fucking mouth to open. Don't have a fucking mouth. They have a mouth, but they don't speak no language, right? They can't, they can, but not the way we can. Other animals, they don't have the intelligence like we can, okay? So that's why we made up God and all this gay shit, because we can, and we're very intelligent. We're very intelligent, besides him. if animals did have the same mindset as us, they will become gay like us. Even though I heard some cases like penguins, male penguins, okay, period, slide, right? But like that's if he wanted to bring that up, animals can't do what we do. So I don't know why some people some Christians compare, or I don't know, but no, animals cannot become gay. Most likely because they don't have that ability brain, their thing is like autopilot. Everything's autopilot, which means like they only move one way all the time. Since we're very intelligent, we go on multiple, and that's exactly why I'm a lesbian.
My perspective. You're just saying that you find it disgusting given your subjective mental states that lead you to the conclusion that it is something that's non-aesthetic. I think it's funny that you're giving me this argument when you've been chirping down my throat for the last 30 minutes that we need to rely on some objective standard to tell us what's right and wrong, even when we disagree. But now you're like, oh, my mental states are not conducive towards me finding this to be aesthetically pleasing, therefore it's morally wrong. It's just a little bit, out of reach for you. But overwhelmingly, I don't even know if I should give a dignified response to what you just told me. Nick just said, I don't like it, therefore it's wrong. You also referenced a couple other things there about just engaging in dignified actions. Once again,
he's such a he's losing. He knows he's losing. That's what he's like. He's acting like a baby right now, and he's 26. I didn't think that.
That's another, I don't like it, therefore it's wrong, right? I could say that being Nick Fuentes and talking about how 6 million people didn't die at the Holocaust is dignified, and all of a sudden in my worldview, you're going to fucking jail, right? But I think that if you're going to make the argument that it's either wrong to be gay or it's wrong to engage in same-sex intercourse, you're going to have to give me a little bit more reason than the fact that it doesn't align with what's aesthetically pleasing to you.
Are you gay? Are you gay, just to establish for the debate?
No, I'm straight. Unlike you, okay. I'm empathetic. I'm able to place myself in other people's shoes and see the world from a perspective and realize...
You're empathetic? You place yourself in gay people's shoes?
Yeah, and I can see.
Do you imagine what it would be like to be gay?
No, I imagine what it would be like to be at the receiving end of your fucking
The receiving
tyranny,
end. You empathize with the receiving end, huh? What is that like?
Like the tyranny of you and the other like white Christians that just come out
tyranny.
And say, gay so bad, therefore we're going to persecute these people. Therefore,
you're empathizing with a gay man. Are you okay? Interesting. Do you think about like gay?
Instead of like producing real points, we're going to attack the dude who's 7 years younger than you. Nah, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not arguing nobody's younger than me like that, I haven't, never could, never should, like... Okay, but okay. Okay, that's what it always comes down to. Oh, you must be gay. Bitch, fuck you. You lost a battle, so you're gonna sit there and did what Donald Trump did and cry like a little baby and make up insults. That's all you can fucking do.
Gay sex? Do you empathize with gay sex at all?
Why is it always the homophobic straight men that want to talk about gay sex?
It's a debate about homosexuality.
Yeah, you're talking, but you're getting a little bit too personal, Nick. I have a girlfriend. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm just asking. So
I know.
I'm just asking.
One of the many.
So here's the thing. I didn't say if it's disgusting, it's wrong. What I mean is, it's a pretty good heuristic that something is disgusting. If something is found to be disgusting, it's probably wrong. And you brought up fecal matter. You said shit. I'll say fecal matter. I'll be polite. Fecal matter is offensive to us. It has an offensive odor. It has an offensive look and so on. Why is that? Why do we find it disgusting? Why are we repelled by it? Because if we were to handle it and touch it, we would get sick and die. If we were to eat it, we would get sick and die. If we don't properly dispose of it, it would poison the community and we would die. So the act of excreting waste is not an evil act. But fecal matter in itself, it disgusts us on an instinctual basis for a very good reason. Okay, and that's why it's a heuristic. And we find the same thing about surgery and blood, why? And about snakes and about spiders. There's a reason for that. And the same thing is true about homosexuality. Now, it's like you look at the homosexual act, okay?
If it's, you mind if I respond to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, you're just further like I look at it. It's
further gross, what? You're just not hearing me.
So I am. So this same intuition,
you're not empathizing.
The same intuition that you're describing to me, and like the other how many people are watching, I don't even know, is essentially that you have this innate driven psychological response that when you look at this, it's bad. You kind of related this to looking at shit, and because when you look at shit, it's bad. That's like driven via the fact that if you eat it, it could give you like bacteria, it can make you sick, whatever. Okay, but here's my point: this same innate like prejudice driven response that you are holding towards gay people that leads you to the conclusion that it's thereby wrong wrong is the same innate driven prejudice response from white supremacists towards black people. So what would you say to a white supremacist giving you the same exact argument that you're giving me about gay people, but about black people? What if they made the argument that they just feel on some innate behavioral level that it is just wrong to be black? When I look at black people,
they did at one point, they did, and they still do. Okay, so let's see.
I feel this way and that way, the same way that you're describing to me right now. And the reason that I think this point is so important to bring up here is, well, you're just describing your prejudice.
Okay, well, I would say, first of all, I don't have a prejudice against gay people. I really don't. I'm describing the act. I'm describing the act of what they're doing, which is filthy. If you look...
No, okay. Having intercourse and you're like a boy and a girl, that's filthy too. Especially the ways that most people do it. They stick it all up in their esophagus. The male's things go over your face. That's nasty, especially to me. Okay? And sometimes it does go up in your ass if girls like it that way. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. Sometimes some people pee on them. Yeah. They feet. That's disgusting. So what is really disgusting at this point? An intercourse. Intercourse is nasty. You sweat and stuff like that. It's not cute and it's not pretty and it's not clean. So let's see.
Look at a guy walking down the street, for the most part. Let's say it was a guy wearing guys' clothes, but he was gay. You would know he was gay, and your disgust reflex wouldn't be triggered. But when you think about sodomy, which involves a whole host of gross stuff, I mean, they have to take drugs to loosen their buttholes. They have to flush out their buttholes of poo because of...
Yeah, that's what people do, I guess. People who want to be with the person that they're attracted to, do, right? But I get disgusted in the girls and gay when they're wearing booty shorts. Guaranteed none of them have problems. Even Aiden, he's fucking laughing. When girls are wearing booty shorts or tight fitted shit, that's disgusting to me. Because I know they're impressed, they're doing it for fucking man. When boys have their underwear showing and their little tiny asses poking out, and all this gay, not gay shit, but anyways, when people don't look at that disgusting, I do, okay? I really do. And same as girls. But they're only doing it, gay people, what do they wear? A rainbow shirt? I don't know, interesting.
Penis is going where poo is. This is disgusting stuff. And the idea of it's disgusting. And it's the act which is disgusting. So it's got nothing really to do with prejudice or anything like that. It's that the act itself...
So they're only saying against males. He didn't say about females, which is kind of odd. Because they're gay, right? I'm gay. I didn't say, what do girls have to do? They're only talking about guys, but girls are gay too, right?
Yeah, I think. Hang on. And by the way, it's also universal. It's universal and it's instinctual. There was a study that was done, for example, that said that men who witnessed two gay...
Okay, let's use that from here. And also, what I'd like to say, people who are like homophobic or whatever phobic they have, it's because they're not used to it. So I literally grow up, but I seen a lot of people who like what they like, which is like girls, boys, me, first girlfriend. So I've seen it. So I don't rebuke it. Now, since he didn't seen it, like I'm talking about growing up, he's not used to it. That's when people constantly compliment me on my hair or the way I dress or the way I look, because they don't usually see that in somebody. So they feel like it's odd, and they feel like sometimes it's disgusting, because usually they feel like it's disgusting. They're jealous of it. So since they can't have it, and they can't have what you got, they rebuke you and they're jealous. And that's usually the kind of the case that people have, especially homophobia. So that's what happened to him. He just didn't see it, so he's as nasty, okay? Because there are Christians who are gay and lesbian. I've met Christians who are gay and lesbian. Right? So he's just the kind of Christian who never grew up around them, never seen it, come into this, and now he sees it, now he rebukes it, and he's jealous of it.
Men kissing have the same disgust reflex as seeing maggots. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Nick, I'm just trying to get you to recognize that.
Can you not interrupt me? Why do you interrupt me every single time? I'm trying to make a point here.
A white business owner in the 1960s would have said the same thing that you're saying about gay people right now about black people going into their business.
No.
I asked you a question. The reason why I'm interrupting you here is because
it's a false syllogism. It's a false syllogism. You're bringing in white supremacy to homosexuality is a behavior.
Can I tell you particularly? Oh, no, homosexuality is not a behavior.
It is a behavior.
Okay, so what do you say?
What is obviously homosexuality is a behavior? It means if a man is attracted to another man but never has sex, is he really homosexual?
Oh, wait, I have a question. Was Jesus straight?
I don't think he had a sexuality because he was God.
Okay, so it's perfect not to be attracted to women because Jesus was perfect and he wasn't attracted to women?
What are these false? It's always just like bullshit.
Oh, so I have a question.
You don't like gay people. What about white people not liking black people? Was Jesus straight?
What'd you say here?
Huh?
You said if you never engage in gay sex, then you're not gay. So Nick,
I didn't say that. I said homosexuality is sex is an act. It's an act.
Oh, okay. So you said if you don't engage in gay sex, you're not homosexual because homosexual is predicated on the action.
I didn't say that. I said it's an action.
Yeah, so you're telling me if you don't engage in that action, then you're not that. Dude, how fucking do I need to write it on a piece of paper?
If you are a person that engages in that act, you are that person.
Right. So no, what I'm telling you is that sexual orientations are not defined upon the actions that you engage in.
What are they defined on?
On your attractions, right? And I'll give you a really good reason to believe this. Nick, at what age did you lose your virginity? Like 25?
I haven't. I'm Catholic.
Oh shit.
Nick, I'm going to get married.
Nick, you're not straight by your definition because you've never engaged in the action of heterosexual intercourse.
True. I'm asexual. I'm an asexual.
You can't get out of this one. So you're going to make a joke because you know you can't get out of this.
It's not a joke.
Wait, so Nick, you're not straight?
Not yet. But I will be.
Here, folks, Nick Fuentes is not straight. Nick Fuentes is not straight, ladies and gentlemen. I want to make that one clear. I want to make that one very clear.
That's good.
That was good. So do you now see why we should predicate
my sexuality is incel. It's involuntarily celibate.
So do you now see why we should predicate the definition of like straight and gay based upon
No, I think homosexuality is an act.
Oh, okay. So then you think being straight's an act too. All right. So Nick Fuentes not okay. That's the absurdity that I'll reach. If you want to say that like being straight is
truth can come in many different segments. If the truth comes in one, it's not the truth. It's the truth. Lies can come in many segments. You understand? As well. Now, if he switches up, now it's now. So he needs to stop saying these things, and then when he says it in another way, but not really, it's up, you got me there. Like, girl, get the fuck out of my face.
Is predicated based upon the action, then go for it. It just means that Nick Fuentes isn't straight, okay? And then also, I want to talk about that action. So
you're empathizing with gay people. If you're envisioning yourself being gay, you're not straight either, buddy. If you're empathizing, if you're getting in their head, getting in their shoes, getting in their wherever.
Okay.
Then I don't know. I think it seems like you're kind of all the above. But
Nick, that's
but this is really child.
And I can say the same about, do you think slavery is wrong, even though you're not black? Do you still think that's wrong? Do you understand? Like, whatever.
I want to respond to that.
The question is whether it's moral.
Let me respond to that.
Please tell me about your empathy. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, sure. So that's
which partner do you empathize more with? The one that's on top or the one that's on bottom? I'm curious. Where's the empathy directed?
Right. I got a question. God's all-knowing, right?
Here we go. Yes.
So God knows what it's like to get fucked in the ass by two dudes. So if God empathizes with it, why can't I?
That's great. Very good. Very good. No, God doesn't empathize with those people. God casts those people
terrible,
off.
Terrible. Oh, that's so bad.
That's great. It's very low IQ humor.
It's very low IQ humor. No, you're getting fucking dunked on repeatedly. I thought you'd be a better debater.
You're the guy that said you're empathizing with gay people, and you're saying that poo isn't filthy or something?
Oh no, so once again, my argument is that you have absolutely no reason to believe that being gay is wrong, and the existence of yourself alongside others just like you that hold this baseless, trivial prejudice has led to generations of members of the LGBT. One moment, let me cook. That led to generations of members
of the LGBT community.
Let me cook. You're getting a little bit frustrated. Sir, do I need to put the polka dots?
No. Give us the whole acronym.
Yeah, so generations of the LGBTQ plus community, right, have lived under an oppressive system because people like you like to open up the front door of their house and then scream and shout how wrong it is to love another person in a consentful adult and non-incestuous relationship. It is absolutely fucking insane to me. And here you're gonna say, oh, Dean, you're boring me because I'm able to empathize with other humans. Is that like a new concept?
Yeah, no, because you're a really good person. Being in favor of gay sex means you're a really good person and you empathize with people and care. It has nothing to do with whether you believe there's a natural law or anything and things we ought to do or not do with our bodies. It's just you're a really fucking wholesome, good person.
Wait,
you're a wholesome chungus.
What reason do you have to believe, right, that we ought not?
It's bad. Look, homosexuality is bad for people. I mean, it's an unnatural act because it's incompatible.
Wait, can you
it's
define
unnatural. It's filthy. It's violent. It doesn't work. I mean, what is a sexual act?
Wait,
what is a sexual act?
10 minutes, guys. 10 minutes on this topic.
Yeah, like the sexual act.
It's contrary to its purpose, contrary to its nature.
Okay, so you're saying it's contrary to its nature. So you're saying that like every part of your body has a nature. The nature of the penis isn't to enter into an asshole.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, what's the nature of your lips?
To do everything that a lip does.
Like eat food, talk, speak.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So it's wrong to kiss your girlfriend because that's going against.
No, they're made for that too. They're made for that. That has a purpose in sexuality as well.
If you could say that your lips are made for kissing your girlfriend, why can't I say that the pee-pee's made for being inserted into the asshole?
Because the asshole isn't meant to be penetrated. Because when that happens, it has long-term health effects. You could look. There are a lot of like ex-homosexuals that talk about how they have.
Same thing if you fuck the vagina, like, you know, like to be honest, and this is me getting to being honest, like that shit hurts. Okay, I'm sorry, PG, it hurts, it does. And I'm pretty sure the asshole's worse because when I take a shit I cry, so I can only imagine what them gay boys are doing, femboys. So, you know, maybe getting fucked as well in the vagina, you know, constantly. Like, but yeah, I don't think he's right about gay sex because like then shitting is like the kind of the same thing, but you're not going in and out. But yeah, he's wrong about that. But same thing with the vagina. If he's I feel like he was talking about like repeatedly. Same thing with the vagina. And also, I can say the same thing about giving birth. Like, that has long-term effects. You know, it can make you die. But is it bad? Not for the baby.
Long-term, I mean, I don't want to get graphic, but they have to wear diapers. They have to wear diapers.
So long-term health effects equal unnatural.
Yeah, if you're persistently doing something that leads to long-term chronic problems like that, yeah.
Okay, wait. I think
also it's dirty, and that's why there's disease that results from that as well.
I think that this is another trivial argument. Would you say that it's wrong to play the piano because you're unnaturally using your fingers to hit the keys that could lead to long-term health effects?
No, because it's not contrary to its nature.
Oh wait, but it leads to long-term negative health effects. And some people, it could lead to like their hands seizing up, or I forget the particular word, but it essentially leads to very like bad long-term health effects like within the hands. So like given your logic, why wouldn't you say that it's wrong to play the piano? Granted, right, that it's not in the nature, right? That was a trivial assumption, and it leads to negative long-term health effects.
No, it's obvious because I mean, what do we call the penis? It's a sexual organ. It's for the purpose of sex. Fingers are a little bit different. Lips are a little bit different. They have all kinds of different potential utilities and things like that. But the sexual organ is directed towards the sexual function. I mean, why do we? The reason the penis is shaped like it is. The reason. Okay, now you're going to interrupt me. The reason that it's shaped like it is and positioned where it is and all those things, it's for one purpose. The reason that I mean, not to get graphic, but the reason it does all the things it does is for the purpose of insemination. It's not for the purpose of inseminating a person's colon or rectum. And by the way, a butthole has literally one purpose. Okay, a butthole has one purpose, which is to excrete waste. Not for
so do you mind if I give you my stance on this? I'm gonna give you
yeah, let's hear. Well, it is a debate, so I wouldn't mind that at all, actually.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think that we could prescriptively define the function of like any part of our body or really like anything for that matter. We could only descriptively define them. Like I could give you a good analogy here. Like if you went to like a hardware store like Lowe's or Home Depot, right, and you went to buy a hammer, and the instruction manual on this hammer tells you that it's supposed to put nails into wood. Well, I mean, all of a sudden you are misusing the hammer if you're not putting nails in the wood. But if you go into the middle of the forest and you find a rock in the shape of a hammer identical to the one in Lowe's, you're not doing anything wrong regardless of how how you use it because there wasn't any intention behind its design. And that's exactly what I would say about the human anatomy. Right? There was no conscious intention behind the design of the human anatomy. I think that we could descriptively define how we use parts of our body. And I think you kind of implicitly conceded to this earlier when you told me that it's in my nature to use my hands to play the piano or to use my mouth to kiss my girlfriend. Those are not intentful, prescriptive claims that you're making about the function or use of my hands. These are going to be descriptions about how we can use my hands, about how we can use my lips. And that's exactly how I'd reference, right, these sexual organs. Okay. And the only way for you to justify your claim that there is intention behind the design of the human anatomy, to justify that there's incorrect uses of it, would be God. And of course, I dispute the existence of God. You couldn't prove that God exists. If we had 30 minutes, I could be able to give you an argument to show that it's logically impossible for the Christian God to.
Are men more superior?
No, just superior. Are men superior to women? We'll start with Nick. I'll give you 3 minutes and then 3 minutes to Dean.
Yeah, men are awesome. Women suck and they're dumb. And no, I'm kidding. Yeah, the thing is, though, men obviously were made to lead. And I do think that women should have a secondary role in society. I think that's absolutely true. I do believe in a fundamental equality between man and woman. You know, the Bible says that God created them man and woman, so we're both created with dignity and should be respected. And there's an equality before God that we both have. But we were created with two distinct and different natures. You know, they are two essential, maleness and femaleness are essential about a person. They're essential to the soul. They're essential to the body. They come with a function.
My brain is just saying, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Why do you always say this? I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. Women are not meant to lead. Women are your main educator provider in Gen. Most people say, where's your dad? You don't have a dad for a reason, because dads don't stay. Literally in any scenario, and we can compare this to animals, even though I said we shouldn't, but we could. The fathers don't stay, the mothers do. But women are not meant to lead. Okay, let me give you another scenario. Why would God give this role to women, and I thought about this before, to give birth to the child, if he existed, right? Why wouldn't he grant the leader of birthing the child? Right? Because having a child, everyone sees that as like, oh, no, you're very strong. So why wouldn't it be given to the man? Men can't handle that shit. Okay, another thing. This is something like a metaphor. And people don't use this for no reason. Mother Earth. Mother Earth. Why not Father Earth? Because Mother grants life. Life leads. Okay? Women don't sit here and debate in these podcasts to other women because we're on the same page, whether we like it or not. We don't have to argue back and forth. Not because we didn't have a voice to speak. It's because we know the answer and we know the common denominator. So all these are boys. None girls are, even though we're mentioned quite a lot, we don't sit here and debate about this. Rarely. Really to little. Because we know. I can see a girl get, beat up, and I instantly rush to her side, no matter for anything. I rush to a girl's side. Because that's what it is. Men, they don't do that. Because they see each other as competition. Leaders cannot be like that. Leaders and hasn't been like that. They see each other as competition. Us women, we see each other as sisters. A coven, a witch. Like I said, that's why, I don't kill women. I don't argue with women. I don't do nothing to hurt women because I love them very dearly. I don't talk shit about them. I try not to for all because I respect them. When people say that about women, it's like, what did your mom? Did your mom like sit there and leave you like your goddamn father? No, she was there for you. Right? They only say that because they're taller and they weigh more. Yeah, totally. That means anything. And it matters what's up here. Have you ever seen a girl doing what they're doing? Constant, like, back and forth with each other? No, you don't do that. Because we know, we might have some petty Instagram fights, like, bitch, I catch me up. But it's not, no. That's why women are not murderers. Women don't commit crimes like men do because we are not like them. We see the truth and we identify it, and we don't do any of that gay shit like they're doing right now. Even though I love Dean, but at the same time, we're still a man in my eyes. That's why women, they're really never like around me in my chat, or because they know that it's not designated for them. Even though I don't really make male content, but like I do at the same time, where I would have been doing things completely different. But that's why a girl never came into like my chat or like never been like disrespectful to me. Do you know why? Because we are the leaders. You respect leaders. That's why when girls are being attacked, everyone stands up for them, including the men. They can say all this little, oh, we're nothing, but because you gradually respect a girl, you don't respect men. You gradually respect. You don't do that to non-leaders. You don't do that for the weak. You do it for the strong. Oh my God. You do it for the strong. And I know you feel like this too. You like instantly feel at home with a woman. Like any girl, like you can like, every girl is nice in my opinion, unless they're like fucked up by a man. But like, you don't feel like you're like pressure when you're around girls. You feel it around men because they're disgusting and they're not meant to be leaders. Leaders can do what they do. They don't sit there and argue about shit that's really not beneficial. We need to get this world together. They don't do that. We don't do that. I'm doing it right now because I'm like bored as shit. But like in Gen, no. Right. So we let the men do, and then we let them talk because they're gonna constantly think that, and you don't think someone men talk about women so fucking much is annoying as shit, okay? But the reason you don't talk about someone who's weak, and you don't talk about someone as much as men talk about women, because they're weak. You do it because you see something in them that you wish that was in yourself, which was the role to lead. That's why women are the main person in the household. That's why your mother is beside you, not your father. And that's why I am here to defend. Ooh!
They come with a particular anatomy. They come with a brain chemistry. And as such, those things have social roles. The idea that these clearly two distinct categories, two essential types of people would be treated precisely the same or exactly the same in society, it belies the fact that they have two different natures. And I think it's obvious that men are celestial, they're individualists, they're rationalists, they're leaders, they're risk takers. They should be working, fighting, running society. Women are terrestrial, they're nurturers, they're caregivers. They should be the mothers. I don't think that they should be necessarily precluded from working, but I think that they should be encouraged first and foremost to be mothers for their benefit and for the benefit of society as a whole. And that's kind of the gist of my position.
Okay, so I have an opening statement. I guess I'll use it up. My position's pretty clear. No, one human being does not have more intrinsic moral value than another human being. I don't think that we could take this qualification of your gender identity or what's in between your legs and abstract that out to this norm of who's going to be better at leading. I'd say the qualifications of determining who's better at leading, the qualifications of determining, half the shit that he named off over here is not going to be, right, what's in between your legs or your gender identity, but rather other various traits. But I guess just to make this quick, we can kind of cut to the chase here. Why do you think men are better at leading than women? I would appreciate specifics. You kind of pointed out like different natures, different biological differences, neuroanatomy, etc. I want you to name the specifics. Maybe I could ask you a question here. What are
But not the people who constantly commit murder, not the people who are committing crime, but the people who stay away from that, but we are the ones who are not meant to be leaders? Come on, dude. Like,
the specific biological differences between men and women that make men better at leading than women?
Smarter, stronger, all of the above. No, I mean, in actuality, what?
Are those your two qualifiers?
No, I'm being a little bit funny.
Well, be honest with me here.
The reason why they're better leaders, well, one, I think they're really only qualified to be leaders because they are physically stronger. And, this is one of the reasons why we have a feminist society. It's because we live in a world where we have technology. In the old days, when there was fighting, it was very physical and it was very direct. It was hand-to-hand combat, and the only people that could do it were men. As such, the militaries that were raised up were comprised of men, the people that fought and enforced.
Because they took a look at a girl and was like, no, you're not going to be a part of it. I would love to fight for something that I care about, even if it involves death. I will fight for women, even if it involves death. I will fight for my daughter, even if it involves death. But girls back in the day, they're not fighting men because of men problem, you fucking asshole. And plus, if women had the training that men did back in the day, which they didn't, then it would be different stories. The women in Sparta or whatever the shit was. What you think this is? You can't say two people are that one person ain't qualified, but they didn't do anything to qualify as that position, or to prove to you, whoever you are, that they're qualified as this position. We can compare two girls, for example. A girl, her cat, the Japanese women, like they take really good care of their cats. Like they look very well groomed. They post like TikTok videos of their cats like dyed hair and stuff like that. And they only had that one cat. But the cat looks very well groomed. But compared to me, I grew up with cats. There was a lot of cats in my household because the main cat, the mother of my daughter cat, she got pregnant a lot. But I have more experience with a cat. But my cat, she doesn't have like rough, fluffy ass white fur. But you take that one, even though I'm more qualified. Or I don't know how to groom my cat, to be honest. She grooms herself. Do you understand? So they didn't even want women to fight on the battlefield. They didn't give them an opportunity to fight on the battlefield. Okay? And I'm pretty sure there was men on the battlefield who were short as women, who weighed the same as women. But since they have a vagina, that's a different story. Because not every man on that battlefield was over 6 foot and buff as fuck. No, some of them height was like 5'3", and they probably weighed 100 pounds, like some women today. Do you understand? So they just say that just to say it and just be cocky with no legitimate evidence at all.
Sovereignty, law, borders, all those things were men. Necessarily, then they're the decision makers. And so, the idea that it has something to do with what's between your legs, it has to do with what's between your legs and the fact that you have testosterone. You're physically stronger. And by the way, because you have testosterone, it means you're more aggressive. It means you're a bigger risk taker. Those are two things that are important. For a person to be a leader, they need to be able to stand against the crowd. And that means a risk taker. It means you need to be disagreeable. It involves a certain amount of aggression and a competitiveness.
And not any woman is like that. No woman is like that right now. Who's like a risk taker and is very loud. Like no girls like that. Oh, okay. And I have men training. My sisters, they don't have combat with men like the way I do, right? So I've trained. So that's when I'm arguing with a man. That's when they fight me. They don't see me as a girl, right? That's why I get in a lot of fights with men. Like when I'm doing my job, they like to see girls as but when we're sitting here having a tussle and they see how tall I am, they don't see me as a man. As a girl, or they would have knocked me. They probably do, but they see the same. Like, oh, I can take you on. So you think you take and you punch me? I do punch me in my fucking shit not too long ago. Okay, they wouldn't do it to a little girl, which people claim I am. People don't argue with weak people unless they're getting money from it, right? So it's all about training. You can be trained to do something, whether you're like. You don't have little cells in your body, which is testosterone or anything like that. Like, oh, the little teeny cells in your body is, oh, you can do this and you can't do that. Nah, I'm just not going to work around here. Okay? So I like to say I have men training. That's why people don't see me, like, they're not too hesitant, I guess, because they think women are weak. Obviously not. So I'm training, like, I fight a lot of men, and I argue with a lot of men. So I consider myself a man, but I'm not, okay? So that is why. So it's all about training, like you're training too. And if you have no training, you can't say this person's not qualified because they had no training, boy.
They're more introspective, they're more emotional, less decisive, and all of that makes them worse as leaders. Now, there can be women that are good in particular leadership roles in certain circumstances, and individual women might, but as a general rule, because of their nature, they don't make good leaders.
Okay, thank you so much for your response there. Let's talk about it all. One of the reasons that you gave me that men are better at leading than women is physical strength. That is a totally and completely moot point. You would not be able to name me one social category in the world today where leadership is determined on purely physical strength. I also bet that you would not be willing to vote for a 15-year-old on steroids that can bench press 600 pounds over Donald Trump just because he's physically stronger. Another point that you brought up is that women are more emotional than men. I'd actually say that's false. 72% of people who commit suicide are men. 85% of people that abuse hard drugs as an emotional reaction to like particular external stimuli are men. We see that 95% of violent crimes are committed by men. We see that men are much more likely to start wars, to start genocides. We see that men are much more likely to engage in irrational, risk-adverse activities such as drunk driving, reckless driving, or gambling. Meanwhile, we see women have a higher IQ and EQ on average. Women outperform men in the context of school, going to it more, getting better grades and better degrees. And we see that women could actually deal with stress better than men. And that's one of those biological predispositions that you were talking about. Women have thicker dendrites in their neuroanatomy compared to men for the reason being that evolution has designed women to deal with childbirth, okay? Right? And that made them deal with stress better as well. That's why we see that female surgeons outcompete male surgeons. The JMA and the AMA
Stop, you're gonna make me cry.
did a massive study on 1.7 million patients on 6 continents and evaluated that if you're operated on by a male compared to a female, that you're more likely to die as a result of your surgery and you're more likely to experience postoperative outcomes. So just a quick recap, physical strength doesn't mean shit. I have bigger biceps than you. I bet you think you're a better leader. Emotional maturity, women are more emotionally mature than men. Then about intelligence and all the other shit you brought up, we could get into that, but I'll let you respond to the points that I brought up so far.
Yeah, so you said it was risk averse to gamble and drunk drive. It's the opposite. You said men are more willing to drunk drive and gamble. Those are risk taking activities, and risk taking is fundamental in leadership.
Yeah,
that's why. Yeah.
Even when it's bad, people can risk shooting up a school and running home and guarantee they won't catch them, even with a face mask. That's a risk that's committed by most men. But so you could take a risk even though it's bad? Nah, that's not good. What is he talking about?
Fair enough. And that's why, the richest people in the world are all men, because the entrepreneurs are men, because an entrepreneur is a
because they manipulate everyone to get it. And that's why all the rich men are famous, because they manipulate everyone. Getting money is boring, okay? I have a lot of money. I probably have more than my fucking mother. But I'm not sitting there posting it and constantly flexing about it like boys are. Little boys are constantly flexing their money. Because I don't need to do that. They manipulate the system to getting money. They get hired because men have these ill-minded things about women. So they don't hire women because the sole fact they're a different gender than them. It's ridiculous. So they need to stop. They really need to stop. They're freaking oh my god. Like, who do you see constantly starting trouble? A man or a girl?
risk taker. And, one man's gambling is another man's entrepreneurship. One man's drunk driving is another man's self-destructive, obsessive, maniacal quest for building the best company or being the president or anything like that. It's absolutely essential. With regard to higher IQ and EQ, it is true that on average women have a higher IQ, but it's also true that the distribution is different. There's more geniuses among men. I mean, the curve, if you will, is flatter. So there's more men that are on the left side of the curve. There's more men on the right side of the curve. Although the average for women is higher, they don't have those outliers and those extremes. That's why you don't see a lot of female geniuses. And that's just true. I mean, earlier today in preparation for the debate, I asked ChatGPT, I said, name some female geniuses. They got to like 3 before they had to name a feminist. They did like Marie Curie, some ancient Neoplatonist no one ever heard of. And then it was like all the like first and second wave feminists. There's no female geniuses. There's very few female billionaires that didn't get their wealth outside of divorce. There's very few female heads of state. People say that's oppression, it's misogyny. And we all know it's because they're not risk takers, they're not tough. With regard to they handle stress better, yeah, maybe certain kinds of stress, but I think we all know women. And I think we all know that when women are put in stressful situations, they cry, they get upset, they freak out, they call their boyfriend, they call their father. Hang on. I'll let you go on. You said that ridiculous stuff. Hang on, let me finish. I'll wrap up, but I'll let you finish and I'll let you say that women handle stress better. That's insane. Okay. And with regard to physical strength, look, I said today, physical strength is not a qualifier because of techniques, because we have missiles, we have tanks and things like that. The point is, it used to be the case that what qualified you to lead is that you would go out there and be doing the fighting and all of that. And that is still true. It's not necessarily true in the United States, but it is still true in other countries. In countries like Israel, for example, or Iran, their presidents and their ministers are frequently military leaders that are actually having to be in the tanks and in the battlefield. And, it's hard to be in the battlefield when you get your period. It's hard to be in the battlefield if you're pregnant or something like that. Men don't get pregnant. Men don't get their period. Men are physically stronger. Men have more endurance. That's why, by the way, it's not just that they're stronger, they're faster, they're all the above. That's why women don't compete with men in sports. That's why men make better soldiers. And so, it kind of does matter that if there's a war, men are going to be the ones fighting and dying it, and that's why they're leading. And there's something deeply related to their biology there as well. But go ahead, since you want to interrupt me already.
Yeah, let's do something here. I've kind of felt this way like the entire time that we've been having the discussion. I feel like we both like to talk a lot. I think that's been evidently clear. We just kind of go at each other with like these 2 to 3 minute responses. Can I ask something from you?
What is it? Depends on what it is.
I kind of want to break down each point you've brought up and demonstrate to you why it's flawed instead of just giving these long-winded responses.
You want to do a
5 minutes?
And I want to do that point by point with our last 5 minutes. The first point about physical strength. Who would you rather vote for? A 15-year-old that can bench press 1,000 pounds or Donald Trump?
But that's not what I'm not saying that the most physically strong person should be the king. I'm saying that as a category, women are not soldiers. They're not tasked with defending the country, and that is effectively what the king or the president is supposed to do: is defend the realm.
Didn't Trump dodge the draft 5 times?
Oh my. Okay, so are we just going to do the resistance liberal thing now? I said the United States, technics notwithstanding. Are you capable of understanding like a concept?
Can non-soldiers defend the country?
President Bone Spurs. We're talking about whether women should be leaders if they can't physically defend the borders.
Okay, so you'd say the weaker you are, physically speaking, the worse you are at leading.
No.
So then what the fuck is your argument?
Yeah, it's like you're not even listening. I said as a category, because sex is
a category that's not going to be indicative of leadership ability. When the question is, why are men better at leading than women? Why do you name a category where we see these general biological distinctions between men and women if it's not indicative of men being better at leading than women? I asked you to name the specific biological differences between men and women that make men better at leading than women. You said strength was one of them, and now you're saying it's not. You're saying that emotional intelligence was one of them, and you conceded that women are more emotionally intelligent than men. Another point that you brought up was intelligence, specifically IQ, with the highest geniuses of the men being smarter than that of the women. I'd say there's going to be some social aspects thrown in there. I mean, if you look at like the average IQ of an Arab individual compared to a white individual at home here in the U.S., the white individual has a higher IQ. But then if you go to an Arab-dominated country in the Middle East, you'll see that the Arab individual has a higher IQ. What this means is that socialization, access to opportunity, and resources can play in, right, to like your deviated IQ. So of course we'd see more men having higher IQs at the end of the spectrum compared to women, just because they have more opportunity, resources, and access to education.
Oh, it's because of misogyny. It's misogyny, right? Women are dumb because of misogyny.
Well, actually, I'd say that not being in the top 10%
Let me ask you a question. You ask me questions. Let me ask you a question. I want to ask you a question about leadership. What do you think are good leadership traits? Can you give me some examples of what like good leadership traits are?
That's a great.
Put yourself in other people's shoes, because if you only think one thing only, and you can't admit when you're right or wrong, also, you can't be a fucking leader. A leader doesn't know all. A leader is just there to put everyone in the right path. A leader is not above anyone else. A leader is supposed to guide some, because some people don't know how to do that. But then eventually when they see the leader doing it, they're doing it. Because they feel like, oh, she's doing it, I can do it too. Right? So that's a leader. That's what I see as a leader. A leader admit when it's wrong, can put themselves in other people's shoes, and mentality is strong.
Great question. I think I'll give you a great answer. We could talk about a good morally virtuous character. We could talk about ability to get along with other people, bring people together, and get them to follow you. Another thing that I'd say, a good leader isn't just someone who could bring people together, but a good leader is also someone that can lead those people into a positive direction. The reason that leadership exists in the first place is because when you take a large group of people and you set them on their own paths, they're not going to get shit done. Thereby, you choose one of that large group of people to lead them all in what? A positive direction. So you're looking for someone with a good character. You're looking for someone that could bring people together. You're probably going to be looking for someone that's pretty damn competent as well, and someone that could like achieve like the highest level of eudaimonia for the group of people that they're leading. I'm sure there's other attributes that we can assign to leadership here, but there's going to be a general sense.
Verbal out, eudaimonia. Look,
Nick, let's do you need to respond, or let's do a 1 minute closing statement here?
Can I just respond and then we can do...
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So just to respond to that, I mean, and this is kind of the whole essence of the debate. Is
coming off last time? Funny. Go ahead.
You fundamentally misunderstand human nature, and you know nothing about leadership. You say it's about bringing everyone together to move in a positive direction. It's like, this is a problem with Gen Z. It's like this kind of kindergartner. Hang on. Can I finish, please? I didn't interrupt all that nonsense. It's just sort of like, hey, everybody, let's all hold hands and let's just create...
Is that bad? Like... It's supposed to be like, we're gonna die, let's kill everyone, USA rules. Under Christianity, of course. Like, is that bad to think? Like, what's going on?
You know, like everyone's being nice to each other. The world is a mess, okay? The world is a knife fight. On the global scale, when you're talking about leaders and armies, it's a knife fight for existence. We're talking about companies, it's a knife fight for existence. We're talking about anything. Human competition, it's practically homicidal between people, and anyone that's serious about anything will tell you that. Anyone that's obsessed, anyone that's ambitious, anyone who is ruling, who is actually the leaders in society, who earn their role there, they'll tell you the same thing. It's cutthroat. And yeah, like there are some abilities, like you said, like, yeah, you need to inspire people and things like that. But more than that, you need a willingness to do what it takes. You need an ambition. You need to take risks. You need to be willing to make decisions and stand by them. These are all qualities that purely because of gender and hormones, because of their biological role, women don't have those things. Because women have to have a baby grow inside of them for 9 months and then hear it scream and cry.
Every day? Like, not every day. Like, he's saying, like, this is, like, every day. Like, no. It takes a man to do that as well.
Cry and take care of it and feed them from their breast and have, like, basically a dependent. They're just not made for that kind of competition. They have a completely care-based ethics. They're totally dependent. Men who are individuals, risk takers, aggressive, men who can exist independently of women when it's really not so the other way around. They alone have the ability to do what it takes to lead. And that's why, even with all the DEI in the world, you're still going to have men running everything. The private sector, the public sector, the military, because men are the ones that can lead. And thus, they do. It's only through ideologically motivated policies from human resources departments that you get women doing fucking anything other than like creating schedules and being nurses and being fucking teachers and stuff like that. That's just reality. Everyone knows it. And you could give me 100 studies. That's human nature.
Dean, responding to closing statements.
Yeah, it's funny how you're saying that you can't get women to do anything. If a woman didn't do something, you want to be sitting here having this debate with me right now. But I just wanted to respond to that. You're saying men are so much better at leading than women, and I hate women because I haven't touched one since conception. Sorry, that's not what you said. You actually said, because they're not.
I touch them. I don't have sex with them. They're not my wife.
I don't know about that. Anyways, so
you're a rapist.
I'm not gonna.
Orange man
bad.
Without
evidence.
Orange clad.
So anyway, no, you're good, man. What I was going to ask, well, if like ambition, risk-taking, and aggressiveness is what makes you a good leader, Hitler was an incredibly ambitious, aggressive risk-taker. Given your qualifications, would you thereby say that Hitler is a good leader?
It's purely because of gender
qualifications. Would you thereby say they're not?
I touch them. I don't have sex with them. They're not my wife.
I don't know about that. Anyways, so
you're a rapist.
I'm not gonna call
Orange
you
man
bad
without
evidence.
Orange clad.
So anyway, no, you're good, man. What I was gonna ask, well, if like ambition, risk-taking, and aggressiveness is what makes you a good leader, Hitler was an incredibly ambitious, aggressive risk-taker. Given your qualifications, would you thereby say that Hitler is a good leader?
It's indisputable he is. Indisputably. You could even say he's evil. He made Germany great again. Even if you believe he's evil.
Who would you rather have run our country right now? Your wife or Hitler?
Hitler! Of course. I don't have a wife, but if I did, she would not be fit to run the country. I could tell you that much. She can run the kitchen. She can't run the lawnmower. I'll put it that way. And I think anyone would. One's in the chat if you'd rather Hitler over your wife. Two's if you prefer your wife. We'll let the fucking numbers do the talking over here. I don't think I'm alone in that.
Okay, let's do 1 minute closing. Let's do 1 minute Nick and then 1 minute Dean. Nick, go ahead.
Okay. So my closing statement is that, look, it's human nature. I am not an empiricist. I don't think we need to consult the studies. I think we know our nature. I think God created a man and a woman. We're created with two different reproductive faculties. We're created with, as a result, different anatomies, different natures.
So he's like constantly saying pregnancy and periods has nothing to do with fighting people or like defending a country. The reason why I'm defending it is because men can make up their fucking decisions or make great decisions at that.
Different dispositions were made with complementarity. Men and women are not only made differently, they're made to complement each other, which doesn't mean that they're necessarily opposites, but it does mean that there's like reciprocal differences. As a result of these essential immutable differences, we should treat men and women differently. And we do. That's why we have things like chivalry. That's why men don't hit women. That's why men and women don't compete in the same sports. And, a lot of people understand that, but then they don't understand why we would say we don't want a woman president, or why we wouldn't want to send women into combat, or why we think that men aren't badass bikers and whatever in the same way that men are. But it all proceeds from the same essential complementary natures that the two sexes were given by God.
That's
to pretend otherwise is to ignore our eyes and our experience and what we know about ourselves and the people in our lives.
Dean, got 1 minute.
First of all, you said that's why men don't hit women. Men do hit women. It sucks. Second of all, let's talk about why men are not better at leading than women. Every single point that Nick Fuentes has been reduced to him telling us all that Hitler is a better candidate for America's president today compared to Kamala Harris or his very own wife. I don't give a shit about the 12 or 13-year-old little boys spamming one in Aiden's chat. Anyone with half of a fucking brain cell can tell that this logic is not immutable, and it leads you to being a fucking incel RNC droid repeating the same alternative media talking points that you got from Andrew fucking Tate.
I love you, Dean. Oh. Sorry. Don't you love a person like that? Like, come on. Like, are we... As a Muslim, I can tell you Jesus was never crucified in the Bible, period. Whatever the case may be, fuck it. Fuck him and fuck Muslims and fuck all men. Besides Dean. Love him. Gotta love him. I believe Nick Fuentes won't want to act like a clean sweep victory is being finished. It didn't impress me. Dean fans are copying hard in these comments. So many of them. Aiden Ross, get the fuck out of here, you fucking nut job. But he's gonna laugh and say, oh my god, isn't he like Jewish or something? You know, like, I'm never gonna laugh over racism. Come on, dude. Because I'm black, so you should, like, get it together. The child on the left is too young for these discussions. What? What do you mean, a child on the left? The YouTube doesn't really view. What do you mean these views? You use like 300K. Like, see how, like, okay, whatever.
Okay, right? The facts of the matter are, this guy said men are better at leading than women because they're physically stronger. Physical strength is not indicative of being better at leading. Go talk to the biggest guy in your gym and see who would be better at leading. This guy also brought up levels of emotion. Men are more emotional than women. We all know this. That's why they commit vast majority of violent crimes. That's why they commit vast majority of suicides. That's why they abuse hard drugs more. Right?
It's about time,
TV, kidnapping, etc. more. Another point that he brought up was intelligence. Women have a higher IQ on average. Let's face the facts, folks. There's no evidence to believe that men are better at leading than women. And I suggest you treat the women in your life damn well and don't tell them to stay in the kitchen or you're not going to get a wife.
That's fine, Dean.
28-year-old Nick Fuentes over here hasn't been able to get a girlfriend since he was born. That's why, folks. That's why you're an incel. But we're going to go ahead and move on now.
Okay, let's go back to Trump Kamala in the beginning. We'll say who's stronger on immigration, Trump or Kamala?
Oh, this one's so good.
We'll start with Dean. We'll give you, let's do 2 minutes. We'll keep this one a little shorter, 2-minute intro.
Yeah, sure. Kamala Harris is stronger on immigration. Well, this one's just evidently clear. Donald Trump is pro-open borders. Huh. Why is Donald Trump pro-open borders? Because he torpedoed a bipartisan border bill in the House and the Senate 2 years ago, drafted by a Trump-endorsed Republican by the name of Langford. Okay? Trump is pro-open borders right now because he knows it's going to increase his chance of winning re-election. Another thought here, if I was a conservative and I cared about